Welcome everyone to tonight's game. My name is Intel and I'm here joined by Akri, and we are here for Flux Cup Season 2's grand finals of the Apprentice Division, Quokka Queens versus Exodus. I am so excited. Akri, how are you doing tonight?
I'm really excited as well. Obviously, Exodus has been really not so much a dark horse, but a pleasant showing in the playoffs thus far. You know, coming up from last season where they were one of the bottom teams. Quokka Queens, I haven't really seen in person, but I've seen a few of their game VODs after the fact. They're looking like a dominant team all season long. So this is really a battle of the Titans for this division.
Oh yeah, I am so excited. I've been watching both of these teams grow since the I guess invitational. Exodus really has been shown under new management and under actual coaching. They seem to be working really good. But Quokka Queens have continuously been dominating. I think they've only been close to losing maybe one or two games against like MI6 and maybe SOAR at one time. So I'm really expecting a lot to be here. We've had a couple changes, but these teams have had more than enough time to kind of get used to the meta and especially adapt with what's going on. At least for me, I feel like the meta is going back into a form of brawl, but what do you expect these teams to kind of run out on?
Oh, well, you know, because of the recent balance changes, particularly with Orisa, I have seen a little bit of experimentation with like an Orisa Rhine pseudo bunker slash brawl. It's a very aggressive bunker, essentially. So I wouldn't be shocked to see if these teams want to experiment with that, try and throw a monkey wrench into the works of their opponent. But otherwise, the double bubble, a lot of standard Reinhardt brawl is also very possible. Kind of depends on where their comfort zones are.
Ooh, 100%. And while we go into these teams, I kind of want to understand what is your perspective going into these matches, because it is a best of four. So whoever first team to four wins, obviously, is going to be our grand champions. And I want to know, who do you think is going to take this out, and kind of like your predictions of scoreline. Because if I'm honest with you, I'm a little greedy here. I think Quokka Queens leaves this 4-0. You know.
Yeah, if I recall, Quokka Queens have gone undefeated thus far, right? Or have they dropped like the series yet in the regular season?
No, I don't believe that they've dropped a single game. Quokka Queens, a marsupial organization, keeping that branding strong.
Yeah, so there of course is that reputation with anything that Vino is involved in, where they're just going to win nonstop. But there is, of course, the possibility of Exodus really buckling down. They looked incredible against SOAR in the semifinals last weekend, so there is a lot of potential here, especially because two of their coaches are actually players that I coached this season in the expert division, being Shinsei and Monster. So I know that their coaches know what needs to be done and how to play properly. It's so Exodus, if anyone, is going to be able to stand up to them. But at the same time, it is marsupial gaming, like you said, so they might just 4-0. But I'm hoping this will be a good game. It'll be a little bit easier to tell how the series will go probably after the first map or two.
Yeah, my only reasoning for saying that I feel like it's going to be a kind of 4-0 is because Exodus has only lost one game, and that's to Exodus themselves in a 3-0. And if I am correct, I don't know if both of these teams are fully stacked or have their starting rosters, or if someone's filling in. I remember hearing some discussions about someone missing at least one player. I don't know which team, but I feel like Quokka Queens have prepared and or they know how Exodus plays. Quokka Queens pretty much went up against Camelot, and we can both be honest, that was a semi-easy game for Quokka Queens. So Exodus got to show out some kind of, I guess, compositions or things they may have been practicing because they were going up against SOAR. That's not a team you want to give the liberty of winning off of.
Yeah, definitely. And as we're speaking of lineups, we're still, I believe Exodus is all here. They look to be settled, whereas Quokka Queens are still getting people into the lobby. They still have time, but I'm sure they're going to want to be getting in and getting situated. Of course, they did have to delay the game about an hour, so it is probably going to go relatively late into the night if this is anything besides a clean sweep.
Oh, honestly, I expect the clean sweep, especially if we're running back into the brawl. I feel Exodus have been running a lot of what the meta falls for. If we remember back into the kind of week one, they were running Ball and Sigma, and then it kind of switched into Double Bubble, but they sticked onto it. and they seem to be rocking what the meta follows. And with the meta kind of being unclear at this point, I feel like that's not going to give them the edge. We've seen Quokka Queens just kind of stick on one composition or just play something random, see it work, see it not work, and then they immediately go back to what they know and what they feel good on.
Yeah, so it'll really depend on which of these teams can adapt. Obviously, like you said, the meta is very much in flux right now. So there's probably going to have to be some adaptation, at the very least, in terms of the DPS. The supports and the tanks might have to stick to their comfort picks, stick to the general plan. The DPS are going to have a little bit more flexibility in the current meta. There's, a good pool of like 7 to 10 DPS that are reasonable depending on the map and depending on what their composition is. So it's going to be. It very well might come down to these teams' ability to adapt on the fly.
Yeah. Now, if we're looking at the rosters of how they're set up right now, Quokka Queens are running Roxcraft, Churd on the tank line, not Titanic. That's someone they've been running since the beginning. I think this is not that much of a big difference, but the reason why I point this out is because Roxcraft and Churd are most famous for their off-tank plays. So one of them is flexing over to that main tank, to that Reinhardt or Monkey. And we've seen Roxcraft, I think, play a bit of Monkey when it comes to Double Bubble or something. So compared to Pineapple and Vespi, there's going to be a lot of coordination difference. They maybe had 1 week to maybe prepare without Titanic. So them having to adapt to that might be a bit kind of conflicting when it comes to this match.
Yeah, I have seen Rockcrafts flex over to the Reinhardt or the Winston, like you said. So there is the possibility, but he is known sort of as that quintessential off-tank player. Churd obviously also has played a little bit of Reinhardt in the past from what I've seen, but again is more so that off-tank player as opposed to Pineapple, who's been the main tank for Exodus for a while now. It looks like this is their standard lineup for the most part for Exodus, whereas there's a few changes, at least in the tank line from Quokka Queens. So it depends on how much they've been grinding this lineup out. If this is something that they've been prepared for, if they're going to be able to get over that lack of synergy from their main tank position, or even, if they have Titanic come in a little bit later into the series. I'm not sure if he's just unavailable completely tonight or if he'll be more available later on for tonight.
Yeah, and we're starting off on Lijiang Tower. This feels like a brawl map. I don't see, besides maybe 1 point where they can really switch up compositions. I do feel we're going to be seeing a lot of Symmetra playing, though, especially when Kemi and Tilted Waffle are in. They have continuously shown to be very impressive DPSs in the league. And while they may have not have won those MVP titles compared to, obviously, Spongy Cheese, who was our hit scan MVP, both of these players have shown to just be amazing, and like I can really see them shining bright and I guess running those unconventional comps.
Yeah, at least from what I understand, Spongy is relatively flexible, but he doesn't have that like extreme pop-off potential outside of like the what you call it, Twitch Fire hit scans, so like McCree, Ash, Widowmaker, etc., as opposed to Kemi and Tilted Waffle, where that to me feels like a lot more of a flexible DPS duo. So there's going to be a lot more customization in terms of what they can run there. If they wanted to run like a Pharah Echo composition on Gardens, for example, in Lijiang, I could see Exodus pulling that off. Whereas I don't know if Quokka Queens has that ability and that comfort level to swap over to whatever they need. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, but I feel like that's why you bring in Navino. He's obviously more traditionally a tank player, but now filling in the role of somewhat of a flex DPS player. He's played a lot of the Hanzo. He's played a lot of the Kree Sombra. So I feel like that's why you bring him in. You play Spongy in if you want to run the Echo or hard hit scan DPS, because he does have very good aim, good tracking, somewhat of a good game sense, as well as coordination. So you bring in Navino for that flexibility. But compared to, I feel like, Tilted Waffle and Kemi, who often play the very centered roles. Sometimes we see a Tracer, sometimes we see a Sim. We often see them playing, the same characters. So their repetition, they're not swapping a DPS out because they're a specialist or anything, compared to Spongy Cheese, who sometimes would get swapped out for Shun because you would see Shun play the Mei. And that might make differences because when you like Exodus, I can say have such a consistent lineup that they are always running at least the majority of their players, so they're all in connection. And I feel like when you're swapping players in and out because they're a specialist of some sort, you're not really building those connections, and at times you can fall apart.
Yeah, there is. You do run that risk. It kind of depends on how often you've practiced and varied your practice with those kinds of specialists. Of course, I don't imagine there to be too many substitutions from Quokka Queens. It seems like they've been pretty happy with this composition, at least from what I've heard talking to their players like Shund. So this, I would not be too shocked to see them stick with this lineup of 6 players, aside from maybe again if Titanic comes in later, then might want to get their normal main tank in. But otherwise, they might be a little bit on the back foot in terms of flexibility, or at the very least in terms of like that pop off potential on a wide range of heroes. So we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Lijiang Tower, like you said, you're probably expecting a lot of brawl. Aside from maybe Gardens, where that could probably play a little bit more into the double bubble, which again is still a brawl comp, but not like a traditional brawl of like Reinhardt Zarya or Reinhardt Diva that you'd expect to see for Control Center and probably for Night Market.
I definitely see that. So we've talked about the tanks. We've talked about the DPS. Now we're going on to what I feel like is the kind of more impactful areas of these supports. These players are obviously keeping them alive. And I'm going to be straight up. I think Quokka Queens have the stronger support line. Mellow and Monarch have consistently shown to be amazing. They were voted as MVP. Sure, you can kind of debate the MVP areas are rigged or whatever, but I still think overall these players are consistently saving these teams, saving their team from any of these fights. I've seen Mello build up sound barriers in single fights or picking off a single target. He never really goes for those flank angles that you can sometimes see other really aggressive Lucio players go for. And Monarch, anytime Monarch plays a Baptiste or Ana, the bail is there. However, when I look over at Trigger and Flint's, it's not like they don't do it, but I feel like they are not to the degree that I can consistently say I would trust Mello and Monarch as my support line.
Yeah, it kind of goes down to the wire of like Mello and Monarch are a lot more consistent players, and they're consistently very good, like above average, and that is a deadly kind of performance to have, especially in the support lineup. Whereas Flintless and Trigger Happy, they're more of like the extremely high skill ceiling, but they're sometimes flaky, they're sometimes inconsistent. They'll go for those big plays, and that inherently has big risks. But if it works, they could carry an entire fight by themselves. So it's really going to depend on the matchup there, as opposed to like if Quokka Queens are able to shut down their opposing support line, or if they can just kind of find picks, not allow Exodus to have those pop off moments. And honestly, that kind of feels like what the entire matchup is for this grand finals. Is Quokka Queens feels like a more solid, stable team, whereas Exodus has a lot of potential, but they could also have a lot of negative potential in terms of just falling on their face. Hopefully that won't happen again. I'm hoping for a good match, at least a 4-1, but you never know.
100%. Exodus definitely feel like this underdog. I'm almost a little scared because as much as I'm confident, 4-0, Quokka Queens leaves this, rubs their hand cleans, takes the title. I can see Kemi in your backline. I can see Pineapple shattering or dropping mines. I can see Flint popping a sound barrier or Valk, and I see this team doing so amazing. I would be underrating them if I've not said that their players are still one of the highest rated, at least in statistics, when it comes to this league.
Yeah, definitely. The Exodus, has only lost once to Quokka Queens, and they've gotten all the way to the grand finals, but this is the grand finals against Quokka Queens, so they're going to have to sort of face their inner demons here if they want to pull out the win, and it's very possible, but that's going to be an uphill battle, at least in terms of their history thus far this season.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially when it comes to momentum, I would say Exodus are building up a lot of momentum. They, a lot of people are betting against them, but I feel like they're looking to kind of go against that. And that's going to build up on them. And I feel that's really going to kind of push them to play better.
Yeah, possibly, especially because Exodus does know the sting of defeat, whereas Quokka Queens doesn't. And, sometimes we have seen teams go completely undefeated and just stomp through the grand finals because they are always destined to win. But also, sometimes not knowing the sting of defeat means that they're going to be a little bit uh, less prepared if they have to make that uphill battle if they start to go down in a series. Whereas Exodus, again, know how to come back from that. They know how to keep their composure under rough circumstances and bring it back. Not allow that to affect the rest of their season, all that good stuff. So it might come down to composure on top of the ability to adapt. Although I think composure kind of falls into adaptation as well.
But I would say yes. But and Quokka Queens does have Navino. I feel a lot of these players, at least from what we've seen, I think at least Churd was a part of League Zero. He played for Geometric. Obviously went to like a Game 7 against Wisdom Academy. And there, a lot of these players have that feeling of like those big tense moments. But I don't know about everyone on Exodus. And then that's a part I'm scared of. I don't think Flint's or Tilted or Pineapple have really been to those kind of close edges, especially Vaporeon, who's sitting on the bench right now. When you're swapping these players in, especially if they're going to be losing one, then it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable. But I know for a fact that at least most people on Quokka Queens have been in these tense moments. And what do you do when you get in those moments? You're kind of just having to calm yourself down while focusing on the game.
Yeah, at that point, you really have to just calm down if you get too tense and kind of return to the fundamentals, right? You don't have to think too hard. You just got to remember what the fundamentals are and just kind of do your job within the team. Although, I mean, speaking of Exodus, we can list off people who have gone to grand finals and have these rough game scenarios in other communities like League Zero. You have Pineapple, who's on Guangzhou Gangsters, who made it to the semifinals, I believe, in a very tight match there. Tilted Waffle and Infamous were both on Geometric this past season for League Zero, so they know the this thing of losing in a map 7, like to defeat their former teammate Churd and kind of get revenge on Spongy Cheese as well, because he was also part of the Wisdom team that beat them in map 7. So
if Tilted Waffle is probably going out for blood, not wanting to lose against somewhat technically the same organization. And it seems that we're going in now. No more waiting. It's time for these teams to be let loose. The grand finals now begins as we are on Control Center.
Control Center. This is probably my personal favorite round of Lijiang because it's just such a visceral map, right? Because especially in the current meta, it's usually Symmetra Junkrat. That's just a lot of explosions, and there's nothing more fun than watching that, unless you're right in the middle of it as a spectator, because then that gets a little bit particle effecty. But we can always move the cameras back and let you see the explosions firsthand. Again, these teams are in their spawns for the time being, so they can swap it up, but interesting to see Exodus might be running out on the Orisa. Actually, both teams possibly running out on the Orisa. Other than that, though, yeah, perfect mirror compositions.
Yeah, that the Orisa not having headshots available when they have Fortify up, that's so powerful compared to a Sigma eating, a Zarya charging. Those shields are going to be so powerful. And both of these teams are going out. Fighting is in the chat, and now they're coming to meet each other up. Both teams already taking out. Exodus up there first, getting located out as Navino split in between them. Immortality gone for the side of Exodus. Navino's G's are down, and it looks like Exodus have the advantage as they're just able to push out. Sure, just trying to solve this, but Exodus are showing their tough out. Monarch down, Rockstar gets the picks, and he invests the shatter, but it's going to be paying them for the next fight.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, like, it was a nice shatter. He got like 3-4 people there, but it doesn't really matter when you aced it. You were going to lose that fight anyways. You're down like, what, 3 people? So I think that was just a little bit of discomfort on the Reinhardt pick here from Rockcrafts.
Yep, now they're balling in. Amplification made huge Fire Strike, getting both with the support, shutting them down. Pineapple does go down, but Rockcraft is gone. They have no one left to help them in this fight, and looks like Exodus now forming 2 ultimates for this next fight. No, 3, because... And look at this on the side of Quokka Queens. They're coming in with only 2 ultimates compared to 3, and I think that Simwall is going to be so massive.
Yeah, they're resetting. The Quokka Queens are resetting very fast. They're coming in fast, which is good because the point's only up to about 40% now. But this is very risky because thus far Exodus have been winning with just one ultimate, if any.
Yep, now they're using both that Simwall and Riptire, looking to slow it down. They just want to reposition. It's going behind. It breaks the immortality, but Spongy Cheese goes down in the conflict. Now they're waiting just to play it back, but it looks like Pineapple's going for the shatter. They're playing very aggressive, wanting to shut them down and stagger. As we get closer, Rock Trap just positioning behind the opposite Riptire. Navino bringing it all the way to the back. Now everyone from Exodus wanting to move around. Kemi gets taken down, and now it's 2K. It seems that they didn't rotate fast enough as now Quokka Queens are able to just roll back on them, ending at 70%. The Lucio is just on this point, and now Exodus are going to have to come back with the 2 ultimates they have.
Yeah, but keep in mind, they got 76% to the point. That's a lot to work with here. It's really a fight and a half. Oh, wow, they're already fighting.
Yep, Shatter coming out. Immortality saving Kemi. Kemi goes down, but 2 people are down. That bomb goes out. Immortality, Amplification Matrix, they held up too far. And Exodus playing to the aggression. They have nothing to worry about. Already capture the point.
Yeah.
And they're going to have Riptire as well for this upcoming fight.
Doing esports stuff.
So they're going to have the ability to hold this point. They're in one fight territory, and while Quokka Queens does have a few ultimates on board, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to take the point against something like Riptire.
Yeah, look at that Amplification Matrix already out. Look for that Fire Strike, unable to find anyone. Sound Barrier, allowing him to go on point. Trigger happy gets charged out. The counter charge going on to Churd. Riptire managing to get to Navino and Spongy bringing this back. It's 3v3. Both rolls are out as Rockstrap goes down too far in. The Orisa, Lucio, and Symmetra on this point. Navino now goes down. It's all up to Spongy Cheese and Monarch. As they get back on the point, Lucio and Vap are coming back. Spongy Cheese now gone. Immortality onto the point. Everyone on Exodus is coming back, but there's only staggers for Quokka Queens. Shatter goes out, only Bella back on the point as they're trying to go back. Turn onto the Diva. Rockstrap entering back onto the point. They have no ultimates, looking to build up that Shatter. It pops up, getting 2, shutting them down, but they shut down Rockstrap before anything can happen. Now Turn is demacked as he's looking for anything, and Exodus are going to be winning this map. The aggression level are so insane.
Honestly, and this wasn't the only thing going on there, but that was a huge case of MTD. Pineapple ran circles around Rockcrafts, and then some. Like, Rockcrafts just was the discomfort of being an off tank playing that Reinhardt really showed that round. And thankfully, coming into the next 2 rounds, you can get away without the Reinhardt. So I think Rockcrafts might be a little bit more in his comfort zone if he goes for this Wrecking Ball. If he goes for the Reinhardt, again, I think Pineapple's just going to continue to run circles around him unless the team can file up around him. There are also some other problems with just Quokka Queens not feeling warm. They were taking a long time to build up their ultimates. And actually use their ultimates, as Exodus was just kind of running through and putting their foot on the gas full throttle, and it worked.
Yep, now they're both going on to point. Quokka Queens gets there first. They're running the Doomfist for that single punch. Immortality already out as they get this brawl lag on the map, but it's perfectly fine. Rockstrap in the backline, but the punch comes in to bail him out. Sugar Happy out in the open. Kemi now goes down. Exodus now looking good. Pineapple down. Only 3 on the point as they're looking for Tilted Bobo. He now goes down and they're looking to finish this fight right up.
Yeah, Quokka Queens will get the first cap there, and that is extremely valuable for the composition that they're running. The Symmetra and the Doomfist are going to be really snowbally in terms of holding that point. Sure enough, you have a few swaps. The Symmetra in particular, Kemi swapping off of that onto a McCree. I like that pick a lot because the Symmetra is really only valuable for that one fight. If you lose it, you have to get off of it, right? And the McCree's going to allow for a lot of stuns against this Doomfist, and Navino's going to have a really tough time doing too much on the backline.
Yeah, look at that, but Navino gets the punch and the shatter in the backline. Over-invested if you ask me, but either way, they win that fight so dominantly.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying before, is once this Symmetra bunker-ish composition that Quokka Queens are running gets control of the point, it's very difficult to wrest control out of their hands, so they're probably going to take this to 99 before they even get a chance to flip it over. If I were Exodus, just build up, at the very least, build up Blizzard and try to do something with that, because it's going to be very difficult to do anything otherwise.
Yep, they have Amplification Matrix. Navino is so low, they're popping it now, looking to do anything. Tilted Waffle goes a bit too far. Immortality, but Navino dies. Shatter comes out. Simwall blocking most of the damage. Immortality keeping it alive. Tilted Waffle goes down to the Sim turrets. They try to charge fast speed. Rockstrap goes too far out, unable to get any healing. As Kemi goes down and the Sim wall is keeping them up. All they have left is this Orisa on the tank line as they're popping damage into Pineapple. The brawl goes in. They're looking at these pixel Sound Barrier, keeping them alive. Pineapple, both Sound Barriers keeping them alive. Navino looking to just stay up, getting that punch in. Vespi on the point slam, and Giant Spongy Cheese is at high charge. Nothing stops him. Don't stop him now. He's having such a good time. They're winning the brawl.
Yeah, and the tricky thing here is that Tilted Waffle just in the last 5 seconds or so got his Blizzard, and that's really not what you want to see. You're coming into one fight territory. He should have been building up the Blizzard a lot faster if they were going to stay on it, as opposed to something like a Pharah or an Echo where they could burst damage a little bit more into the point, but they gotta go now.
Look at that Blizzard already thrown out, hitting, but 2 people already down. Churd is the one who's only hit by the Blizzard. Rocktrap now in it, but there's no damage. Bongo being used by Exodus. They managed to get Navino and the Bongo, but now they have to walk on a point. Amplification Matrix being used, but they're unable to find any real target on it. Flint is just on the point trying to stall it out. And now the Amplification Matrix is being used. They now have full size Rockstrap flanking on the side. This wall being used. He goes down. All that's left is Vespi on this point, just trying to stall it out. High Noon being used, looking for the target, has to cancel out. And now Exodus are just trying to stall this out. Both Tracer and Pineapple are just on this point looking to do anything. But now Tilted Waffle is gone, and Exodus are not going to be able to bring this map as watching tie this up.
So each team has shut out one round, and we're going to the last round. Granted, Gardens is a little bit different. I don't expect them to get away with this kind of bunker on Gardens as well, and that's the only thing we've seen Quokka Queens be even remotely successful on. So they really have to come out with a statement in this round in particular, because again, Night Market is so niche in terms of it's the only round that you can actually do something like that, just hunker down on point and never move, and that allowed them to sort of huddle around Rockcraft's pocket him for a good amount of time. Granted, he was dying a lot when he probably shouldn't have. Again, discomfort on the main tank role, but otherwise it was working, right? They were playing together as a team. They were utilizing Rockcraft's over-aggression to their advantage, and it really just allowed them to not get picked off and separated like Exodus was doing on Control Center.
Yeah, both of these teams running similar comms, but Quokka Queens gets to the point first with the Symmetra. They're looking to just take this point and hold it like similar. They use the Maywall to split them up. The Brawl comes in, Immortalities for both of these teams. But Spongie's high charge, they're wanting to enter now as they have high damage. Pineapple gets melted down. They have no shield. They don't want to push up, but never mind. They're wanting to get Cammy. They're bloodthirsty. The Maywall being used to block off the rest of them.
Honestly, if I were Tilted Waffle here, despite the fact that he's getting close to a Blizzard, he might consider swapping to something like an Echo or a Pharah, because Quokka Queens has quite literally nothing aside from Monarch the Baptiste to deal with someone in the sky, and that's basically just free spam damage. So actually, because he does have Blizzard now, might want to use that and then swap if it doesn't work. Otherwise, if it does work, they worked, so no reason to swap. But this next fight will probably decide what Exodus does.
Amplification Matrix being used, Fire Strike not hitting anyone, Immortality out, the Blizzard being used, as the server lags a bit, the Sim Wall now blocking half of the damage. Rockcraft goes down, they're looking to do anything, but they're unable to save themselves. Spongy Cheese getting the pick up.
Oh
no! The server crashes due to excessive workshop script load, 33%. This is so unfortunate. Blizzard fix your game. Oh no.
As soon as you said the server lagged for a bit, I was like, there's no way. There's no way.
It was so unstable on that last point. How unfortunate. Now the question goes, do we let Quokka Queens get that 33% back into that fight when Exodus had just won that? That was so unfortunate.
Oh, that is unfortunate, but at the very least, we have 2 clean rounds. So at the very least, we can just figure something out for Gardens. But yeah, that was going in favor of Exodus. So the Blizzard was working, and that was a really good sign. So they probably would not have needed to swap off of the May for the time being. They probably, in fact, Quokka Queens probably would have had to swap Spongy Cheese off of the Symmetra, because that would have been practically impossible to retake the point with the Symmetra. Probably swapping over to a May, or possibly even something like a actually, even though Spongy Cheese, probably something closer to a hit scan, so like McCree or an Ash. I'd have to expect that maybe Navino would stick onto the Reaper, possibly swap over to a Mei or Pharah, echo something himself, just to get that diversity in the DPS range. But granted, that's neither here nor there because we don't get to see that anymore.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. Both of these teams are just trying to fight for some form of advantage when it comes back going into the map because both of them are not going to have ultimates. If they replay this, Exodus are going to predict what they're running. So either Quokka Queens is at the disadvantage or Exodus is at the disadvantage. Both of these teams are trying to fight for that. But something that I loved was Tilted Waffle or Kemi, whoever was on the main. They waited until Churd had dropped the eating of the Matrix and then threw it kind of at the ground. They perfectly timed it and waited, and those patience really helped out so much.
Yeah, definitely. That was really great timing. I wasn't expecting Tilted Waffle to go for the Blizzard there, just because the Matrix was up from Monarch. So it was very risky. He could have just gotten melted and animation canceled, and that would have been Blizzard gone. Probably worst case scenario, but they did end up getting it off, and they would have won that fight. So that was pretty good.
It does look like Quokka Queens are going to be able to get first cap, which I think gives them the fair advantage. But honestly, if you ask me, we're still going to be seeing some people be a little salty. If you ask me, I think Quokka Queens should get that 30% because they had it. But am I playing favoritism? No, I hate spongy cheese. I set up that line just to say that. But when it comes to this, do you think Exodus are going to be able to kind of adapt to this?
I think definitely, especially because they played that fight so cleanly right as the server crashed. They were actually able to come back from the round on Night Market. Obviously they were going to lose that first round because Spongy Cheese ramped up his damage so much, but at the very least they had a good plan, and they were probably going to hold for at least one fight themselves. So that would have been like 20, 25 at least % onto the point themselves. So they could possibly just run out on the exact same thing if they really wanted to, but that would also run the risk of allowing Quokka Queens to basically take even more of the point as opposed to running out on something like a Pharah and an Echo. They're probably going to want to run that exact same composition with the Reaper, with the Symmetra. Anyone on Navino's organization generally tends to run similar strategies. So if they had that as a plan for Gardens, they're probably going to try and run that again.
Oh, 100%. Honestly, if I'm Quokka Queens, I feel there might run the Doomfist or in the Mei. You look for those walls and you just hit that one punch. You get those quick picks. You want to run something different. Because if they run the same thing, Exodus now understand at least some format of how to play against it. Obviously, they don't want to play for those Blizzards. That's not going to be how you win every fight. But it's just a little worrying to see how these teams are going to go at it. My mind is just racing. Do they run Pharah? What do they do against it?
Yeah, honestly, if I were Exodus, I would definitely consider swapping Tilted or Kemi. Probably Tilted. He seems to be the flex DPS for Exodus right now. Swapping him onto a Pharah, and then if I were Quokka Queens, I'd have Spongy Cheese on McCree, and then have Navino run something like the Doomfist or the Mei, and just kind of run it from there. Like you can't really run the Symmetra anymore because you have to expect that they know that you don't have anything to deal with a Pharah with what you were just running. So then you want to prepare for that Pharah just in case, as well as the McCree just being a good pick. Mind you, it looks like
Churd has crashed. It's the classic Churd. It's what happens. I think he lives in like California or something, but he has such inconsistent Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So we are gonna be getting those seconds. Rockstraps giving the R. Don't know if it's a meme or not. But either way, both of these teams, at least for the first two maps, I would say they're even. But obviously these teams understand the compositions that they want to play, and they shine in those formats in the way they want to play. Quokka Queen seems a lot more reserved and wanting to play more passively, waiting until they have the opportunity to be aggressive, while Exodus just kind of say, let's just int and hope we win, which is kind of what other teams did in different leagues.
Yeah, well, if it works, as long as they can play faster, I suppose. We are back to Gardens. Hopefully everything will be fixed now. But, yeah.
Yep. I blame Blizzard. Don't know why it always has to be only in grand finals when Li Jiang Tower finally crashes. Maybe we'll have to change it for now on. 5 seconds on the clock, and I'm just so excited to see what both of these teams are running. And look at that. No,
Okay, so the exact same thing.
The exact same thing, but Pineapple on ball.
Maybe Navino onto the McCree, so they might be preempting it, like I said, which makes sense. Navino's a smart player. So I don't blame him for running the Kree here, just in case. But it looks like Tilted is going to be sticking onto that Mei, so the Kree isn't necessarily going to be overtly useful, other than just being a lot of damage from a slightly longer range. But it looks like the agreements in match chat was that Quokka Queens will get first capture and immediately start the fight from there. So we'll have to see what they actually decided. That was just something I saw in passing. It looks like...
Yep, let's hope... I do recommend Pineapple walk away from there. Once that fight starts, just one hit is going to start giving them all the charge. And that one tick of, like, percent is going to be giving them that advantage as we have 6 seconds on the clock. How do you see Exodus rolling out on this? They're running the ball. And obviously...
I think Pineapple's, he's going to swap.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, I don't think the Wrecking Ball would have been very useful here, especially with the Symmetra they know they're going to be running. I think Pineapple is just using that for scouting, possibly. So, actually, Kenny is onto the Echo as well. Interesting Echo Mei. A lot of potential here for spam damage, but it could also get a little bit awkward since they don't have a dedicated hit scan.
Yep, now they're flanking around. Kemi fighting Navino. Navino goes solo, but Mello gets Tilted Waffle with the boop. Immortality's out as they brawl onto this point. Immortality gone for Exodus. Now they're going out. Pineapple gone. The rest of them are having to back out, playing so scared right now as they have to re-engage. Rockcraft now charging into the back like he's gonna die. As Kemi gets Spongy Cheese, this fight's somewhat even now. As there's both very dead. Navino solo gets body blocked, and Church saves his life as now Pineapple comes back to the fight, and this is looking scary for Quokka Queens as Rockcraft gets back in the charge. The wall blocks Rockcraft. He's able to get the peel. The high noon being used, looking to get someone. He's peeled in, gets the mech. Spongy Cheese gets Flints. Now the amplification matrix goes out. Rockcraft goes down. All that's left is the Mei, Echo, and the person on point, which is Tilted Waffle. As now they're now just stalling. And it looks like the copy comes out 66%. That's not something you really want to be doing right now, as the Mei is just stalling on point and now goes down at 72. This is not looking good for Exodus.
They're coming into one fight territory. I think they were too focused on getting the points because there were openings, but they were already down some. Keep in mind that Spongy Cheese has a teleporter from spawn, so that's going to be a lot faster of a respawn for Quokka Queens. They need to win these fights more decisively and take out the TP while they're at it. Of course, Exodus does have the Blizzard, they have the Shatter, they have a lot to work with this fight, but they just gotta make sure they
The Shatter comes out, and it's gonna... The Mei gets saved by the Sound Barrier. Diva Bomb in the back, Blizzard now hits them. The Sound Barrier now everyone on Quokka Queens, they managed to get Spongy Cheese, burst down Rockstrap. They have no more ultimates. The Simwall is used to kind of stall this out, and they're not being able to do anything. The high noon from Navino. Wow, it gets Maywalled out as he's trying to walk back, but you are no smooth criminal as you now die. 99%. This is one fight territory. Exodus have the ult, Quokka Queens don't, and this is now looking much better for Quokka. Exodus.
For Exodus, yes. Especially because they really only used 2 ultimates. They used Blizzard and Beat, and that was it. They have so much to work with here, and I would almost expect them to take this to, at the very least, 60%. If they play this correctly, they could just completely screw everything up. Oh, okay.
Yep.
I guess they wanted to melt that. I think that was a fake-out TP, though.
Yeah, look at that. Already the bomb coming out. Rockstrap turns around and they get Shatter, Mellow, Spongy, Rockstrap going down. Now they have to reset. Shatter being used as well as Amplification Matrix, which that ult was a bit worrying. Now these teams are about even, except for the fact that Monarch has an ultimate.
Yeah, I'd expect Tilted Waffle to build up his Blizzard rather fast, because he has been doing that, especially because they are winning these fights. The amount of ult percentage is going to be that he's gaining is going to be rather quick, as long as he can hit his icicles, which he is. Interested to see that Spongy Cheese is still on that Symmetra. I don't think he's going to be finding a lot of value with it.
Yeah, they teleport there. The Immortality's there. The copy. Kemi gets Baptiste. That's not good. Tilted Waffle goes down. Amplification Matrix are down. And now they're looking to brawl this out. Navino using the high noon. It seems double Bap is not a good thing, as Spongy Cheese able to mow down I wouldn't blame Kemi on this, but it's not looking great for Exodus as now the stall phase has entered in. What Exodus is still on this Reinhardt. They're trying to run back. They're going to this point. Flint's manages to touch. Same with the Mei as they're looking to just sit there. Tilted Waffle is about. Rockstrap jumps off the map. He started Pineapple Con. The Blizzard gets in. It's not looking good. Sponge Trigger touching the point of as now Vespi is just trying to stall Kemi back too, but there's nothing left for you in the bottom of the pit, and it looks like no Flint is touching back on this point. Spinning around Pineapple too. This is the part of Lijiang Tower we always wait for, the stall phase. Pineapple going down, no one able to touch, and Quokka Queens officially able to take over Lijiang Tower, bringing this series 1-0.
Definitely a lot to work with if you're Exodus. However, they just have to make sure at this point in time that they do not allow themselves to get boomed, because this map was very close and a few slight different plays, and Exodus very well could have at least taken that to a 99-99 scenario. So I hope and think that Exodus probably is not out of it quite yet. I am not. However, that was a really good play from Quokka Queens. They came into that final fight with a lot less ultimates to work with. They made it work. Churd, beautiful eat on the Blizzard that probably could have flipped the point by itself if it landed. So that was really good stuff.
Honestly, yeah. I think Exodus really panicked there. It seemed that they kind of went tunnel vision. They just said, let's touch a point. Probably really angry that reset happened when they just won the point. And that frustration, they're going to need to calm down right now if that's really hitting them. And I'm not seeing any swaps, but we are going on to Dorado, which I think this favors a lot of that Rhine Orisa composition and could possibly favor the aggression, but I feel like Quokka Queens have the advantage when we kind of go into this map, running Decree or Pharah if they choose to.
Possibly, however, I think Exodus's DPS have a distinct advantage on Dorado. The verticality is going to fit a lot more into their flexibility. Obviously, we saw Kemi, who's been on hit scan for the first 2 rounds of Lijiang swap over to the Echo, looked pretty good on it, aside from accidentally copying the Baptiste instead of the Reinhardt, which he was trying to do. But other than that, he's looking pretty good on basically everything else. I think Exodus's DPS are definitely outclassing Quokka Queens at the moment, especially with Spongy Cheese sticking on the Symmetra there on Gardens for as long as he did when they were trying to retake point. It allowed for some funky strategies, and it kind of worked, but it also made it a lot more awkward to try and recapture the point. Symmetra is not exactly the strongest.
Yeah, they were on the edge. It's honestly, if you ask me, if I was Pineapple, its last fight, you just kind of have to charge into them. You'll get more than one with the boop.
I think that runs the risk, however, of booping them to the other side of the death pit. So if that happened, then you might drag one person down with you, but then you have the rest of Quokka Queens, and now it's a 5v5, and Pineapple had Shatter, I believe, at the time, whereas Rockcrafts didn't. So that I don't blame him for not doing that. Actually had a really good attempted charge onto the corner of the wall where he was guaranteed to not fall off, and if anyone pushed forward, they would have gotten booped up or possibly pinned. So that was really good play from really good attempt from Pineapple to not feed there when they did TP over to the edge. That was actually rather risky. If Flintless had been predicting that, as opposed to trying to predict the window that Quokka Queens were coming through normally, then they probably would have just gotten team wiped and gone to one fight territory. But of course, that did not happen since we just saw what happened.
Yeah, I feel like Roxcraft's consistent feeding onto the side. Honestly, I don't know if you really paid attention, but I looked at his POV and all I saw was W. Man would walk into your backline swinging as if his life depended on it. And if Quokka didn't already have a pick, then Roxcraft would be the first pick, and that's kind of how the fights went.
Yeah, that's more or less what you've been seeing. Rockcrafts more often than not has been dying first, and Quokka Queens has still been managing to win some of those fights, but it is made a lot more difficult. If Rockcrafts can't cause a lot of chaos, cause a lot of damage, even if he can't get a good charge or something off before he dies, then then they're just down 5v6 and at a distinct disadvantage, as opposed to if Rockcrafts, the few times that they did win those fights, was able to just create a lot of chaos, do a lot of damage, possibly get a nice shatter before he died. That would allow Navino, Spongy Cheese, Churd to go in, cause a lot of damage, and then possibly clean up the rest of the fight. And that's really how they won, So it's somewhat predictable having the feeding main tank, who's really an off tank that's really just trying his best to fill, and he's doing a good job as someone who isn't traditionally the main tank. But it's very obvious that he's not a main tank right now.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I think if we really look at any of the standard main tank people and we just saw them inting in there, they'd be more worried about the stats than really anything. Because if you play the feeding Reinhardt, then your entire plan is to get value off of healing your Reinhardt, and that's not what Quokka Queens were running. It was really just Rockstraps going in. But I still want to say very impressive performance from Kemi and Tilted Waffle. Again, before we even started, we were already complimenting them. And when they went into these fights, they were saving a bunch of them, especially before the reset happened.
Yeah, definitely. I think, again, that is going to be that X factor for Exodus as opposed to Quokka Queens, which all around is just a very stable, good team. So Exodus's DPS in particular come off as very explosive. Pineapple's been explosive. Granted, that could just be the main tank difference. But give him credit where credit is due. He is also running circles around Rockcrafts in particular. So if he can keep that up, it's going to only create more openings for Exodus, and more openings allows for their DPS to find more picks. That's how they're going to win these fights.
Yep, we have no more time as we're going straight into Dorado. I am so excited. Already a good showing of how these teams' potentials are being awakened into this game. Now, I feel like Dorado is... going back into kind of the predictions of it, it's very much that Orisa Ryan composition that Exodus are wanting to run, but I see Quokka Queens running a Ryan Deep. No, we're seeing actually the monkey. I see this is looking interesting. The Vino already onto that Pharah. I kind of predicted that. I feel proud of myself. They're running this centered brawl where they double bubble, where they want to play a lot slower than compared to Exodus. But Exodus comp, I don't know about running that Mei though.
Yeah, I think they're running the Mei expecting Quokka Queens to run the brawl, but I don't think Mei is particularly a great hero for Dorado, just because of the verticality. It's not a terrible hero because she is incredibly strong just in general, but it's going to be awkward. And I wouldn't be shocked to see Tilted swap over to like an Ashe, something like that, possibly to Scout, or maybe something like an Echo or a Pharah himself.
Yeah, honestly, Quokka Queen's own mobility will be Exodus's downfall when it comes to being able to wall them off. They're wanting to look for this poke and choke as they're now just kind of sitting there, Pineapple using the shield. They're just having to play so patiently. Vespi now going onto this high ground. They're just looking as Rockstrap is just waiting. It looks like he wants to engage with his jump. No, popping down, using the bubble. Now they enter in the brawl, and they immediately get 2 hits. Such good coordination. It looked like Exodus wanted to kind of focus down Rockstrap, but they weren't prepared for evereverone on the high ground dropping on them.
Yeah, I think
there was an anti for like a second. Was there an anti by Monarch? Because I don't.
Yeah,
I think
that's what opened up the entire fight. So
yeah, because
when Rockcrafts jumped down to the point, he started running back to like rotate around, and that's when Pineapple stopped shielding the high ground and turned around to swing at Rockcrafts, and Monarch dropped the anti-nade down there and got like a 6-man anti-nade. It was just massive, and that literally won the fight, as you could see from Monarch's ult charge.
Yeah, I had heard the anti-grenade sound effect go off, but they died so fast I didn't even see the purple. I felt colorblind for a second.
Yeah, it was a beautiful play from Monarch, and honestly, you can't do that when you know the enemy team has an Ana. They're running double bubble. Ana is the only flex support played with double bubble. You know that they're going to have it. So yeah, Exodus has to be more careful of that, because that is the perfect angle for Monarch. Yeah, in that case, they're going to have Nano.
Yeah, now we're sitting here, you're Exodus. They now know kind of the win condition or the play style that Quokka Queens wants to run. And my question is, are they going to switch off that Mei? Are they going to switch off into kind of a different composition or adapt to what they're going? Because you can obviously go underneath the point, go straight to that high ground and pressure them off. You want to take that space away from those supports. Monarch's anti-grenade is so massive right now. And if they're not prepared for it, it's going to be their downfall.
Yeah, honestly, the anti-nades in particular are going to be Vespi Queen's problem because he just has to eat those. There is no other way to deal with it. Pineapple can try and shield it, but that runs the risk of splash damage hitting someone else, and then just not really working. Same thing we saw last round. Tilted definitely can stick onto this Mei, but it's not going to work incredibly well until after they get past this choke point for first point. Second point and third point, anyone's guess there. It really depends on how he plays it. But free Blizzard.
Yeah, they're already sticking on it. Rockstrap dropping down. He gets melted. I think it's jump miss as both Pineapple and Vespi get taken into the ante. Yeah, Churd gets brawled on. It looks like a more messy engage. They tried to mirror what they did before, but Rockstrap messed the jump or something. And now everyone across has to back out. As Navino barrages?
He's solo barrages. Oh, I think he just wanted to get off the far. He was not doing anything. Kemi has been doing an absolutely brilliant job of shutting them down on this Kree. He doesn't even have High Noon yet, but it doesn't matter. He's just doing so much damage. He's been focusing down Churd, Rockcrafts, there you go. He's been not allowing the Dino to do anything, actually sticking onto this far.
Yeah, now Churd's going down. I'm guessing it was an ego play, as everyone is just trying to touch this point.
Dino couldn't touch.
How unfortunate, but either way, they didn't have the necessary pieces. Everyone on Exodus has an ultimate. Oh no.
Let's put that a different way to show how insane this is. Exodus took first point without using a single ultimate on Dorado. That's like unheard of. That is beautiful target coordination and just really good play from this brawl. You know, it's been a while since we've seen this May McCree brawl in the meta. It's actually been about a year now, but it's still effective. And they're making it work at a map where they really don't have any use for this verticality.
Yep, first one to use your ult's gonna win, as we see Diva Bomb, Blizzard, everything coming out. Two down, Sponges and Mellow. They're gone, and it looks like Exodus are gonna be able to win this fight.
Oh, Rockcrafts. Oh, no.
Wait, he's hitting them around. Flint does go down. Now this fight's somewhat even. The spawn point is faster for Quokka Queens to get back. And Monarch gets 2 picks, now gets triggered. They have no support. They managed to bring that back, actually.
Tilted actually does swap off of the main. I think they realize that they're just not going to find very much value. Spongy also onto the Ashe now, so I'd expect this to be more of his comfort zone. This point is very good for Ashe and Widow as well. I'd expect to see the grab come out from Churd relatively soon, because Quokka doesn't have much else to work with, as well as Navino coming up onto that barrage. So maybe they're waiting for the grab barrage combo.
Yep, they wait underneath. Kemi has the High Noon. He's going to be able to shut down Navino so fast, so it's all up in the engage. Rockstrap jumps, goes down, and he's booped around. They're looking for anything. Immortality, High Noon now out, manages to get Rockstrap, Blizzard, Graviton Surge. They're now 3 anti, but the Sound Barrier keeping them alive. Chart not there to help them out as the Valve shut down, but Navino goes on the flank, gets a 2K, but it doesn't really matter when all that's left is Spongy Cheese.
Well, I would expect Quokka Queens to get another touch if they really want it here, and the dangerous part for Exodus is that both of their supports are who died in the barrage. Actually, no, they're not touching, so Exodus has 4 minutes going into third point. This is worst case scenario for Quokka Queens. They probably should have gone for a touch there, even if it was just a few people. But that's neither here nor there. They didn't, and now they're defending third points. Beautiful attack from Exodus. This is a completely different team, and they were already playing out of their minds before.
Yep, Rocktrap switching over to that Reinhardt. His monkey wasn't doing too good as Blizzard on the Diva. They're looking to eat ultimates. Vespi's mech already half as they reach this corner. It's all up to Monarch's Nano and Spongy Cheese Bob as the Fire Strike looking to just do anything. The Bob comes out, hitting that angle as Nano goes out. They're wanting to brawl all the way on the side of it. That Bob in the perfect angle, actually, is catching any people split. Monarch getting the anti-grenade. Is anyone going to be able to shut him down as the copy from Tilted Waffle goes out and then the Shatter shuts it down?
Honestly, if I were Tilted, the May might act... Oh, we have another pause from Quokka Queens yet again. Interesting. But anyways, what I was saying is if Tilted would like to swap over to the May, this would actually be the 1 point on Dorado. I'd say it's actually quite valuable because it's such a close, tight area, and there is some high ground still, but it's not as important as just like pushing the point through and all on one level playing field.
Yeah, and I feel like with the May, you have a lot more liberty with the way you want to contest this point, because now you're able to go onto that high ground and wall off, split them when you drop. You can go through that main area, and Rockstrap already has such questionable positioning that I feel any wall will be able to shut him down.
Possibly, yeah. He is playing that hyper-aggressive Ryan, and while Tilted hasn't really punished him too much on Lijiang, this is a completely different scenario because now we're not on control, where the teams are kind of on an equal playing field where they can both be attack and defense on the exact same round. Now, this is going to be a little bit more of a linear experience in terms of attack defense, so that's going to be a lot easier to punish Rockcrafts if they really want to, especially because you don't have Mello and Monarch on like the Baptiste and the Lucio anymore. So it's going to be a lot harder for them to peel for Rockcrafts if a good wall comes up. It looks like Rockcrafts is having audio issues. Trying to play main tank without any audio is probably not easy, especially when you're an off-tank player.
And I feel going into this next fight, Quokka have to play a lot slower. Mello's coming up on the Valk. Novino is the only other person who's close to an ult, and that's only at 66% to the high noon. Compared to Vespi's Diva Bomb, they can perfectly just throw that bomb across the bridge. Rockcraft is either going to have to turn around to shield it or have to pay attention to the front line, and Pineapple can either just charge or just run right on them. And Kemi just also had free range to use the high noon. It's going to be Quokka have to play so carefully here.
Yeah, definitely. And the high noon is, again, Vespi is on Diva, so the high noon might even be eaten for Novino, so he's going to have to play that very carefully, as well as Valkyrie not necessarily being the highest value support ultimate, as opposed to something like Beat, which Flintless is probably going to build up rather quickly since they are playing that brawl, and they're all going to be sticking together, so a lot of potential here for Exodus to push the cart extremely
look at them. They're already waiting right there. Novino was hiding to stun them, but they now use the Blizzard. The answer grenade gets blocked, and this managed to shut down both of them. The Shattered now only getting churred, but he's now demeched. Valk is there, and now they have to play back. It's time for the stall phase. They're not touching the cart.
They do need to push the cart, which
and nice. She's managed to get Kemi too. This is now looking good. They're not pushing the cart, and now they're getting picks as everyone on Quokka Queens is now 6.
Yeah, and this is going to allow Quokka Queens to some time to build up their ultimates as well. I mean, Spongy is basically to a bob now. Vespi, really aggressive.
The Diva Bomb coming out, but Pineapple misses the charge. Rocktrap still goes down, and Novino getting the 3K. Who says he's not a star MVP? Only getting 18 votes in the second.
Well, he's definitely making a name for himself now. You know, you don't normally think of him as a DPS player. You normally think of him as an off-tank player. Side note, Quokka Queens is playing with 3 off-tanks, I just realized. But that was a really beautiful high noon. That's exactly what he has to do with these. He's like, find off angles, wait for the fight to already break out, and just wait for these tiny little opportunities like Vespi to be out of mech, for example. That's probably the best chance he's going to get to not have it eaten. But Exodus have quite a few ultimates to work with.
Yep, they go back to this high ground wall. Missing Churd has the Diva Bomb, but they're using this Nano to walk in. Soundbaiter giving them some room. The Shatter gets blocked. Now they're brawling into this phase, but Pineapple gets so low, the counter charge, as he's on the bare edge, tilted off of going down, and now Quokka Queens has the ability to just start walking in slowly. They've countered them as Novino gets hit, as he went for the flank. The Shatter managing to get everyone. This is now looking scary as Novino Monarch able to get trigger happy, but this is not looking good for them. Only the supports are alive.
Someone does need to push the card eventually, because they can only throw their time bank away for so long. They came into this with 4 minutes, and the last 3 minutes have been fighting, which is good, but they need to actually fight on the cart.
Yeah, I love how Exodus have a couple ults. They have that Blizzard ready. The charge, but their charges get blocked by the Maywall, which was really funny. Blizzard being it manages to get Rockcraft. No, it gets saved as Spongy manages to get Kemi Bob on the point, and they're going to be able to save this fight and still have ultimates in the end.
Yeah, this is looking rather grim for Exodus. They've honestly been kind of throwing their time bank away just by playing up on the high ground. It's nice that they take the high ground, but they have to do something with it, and they have to do something while they're doing that. They can't send all 6 people up to the high ground. They need someone to stay on the card. You know, which in this case probably would have been trigger happy on the Baptiste. Now they do have Tilted Waffle to on the Tracer to possibly put some pressure onto the cart while the rest of the team is up on the high ground.
That Diva Bomb coming up in the air, and it falls right on Spongy Cheese. He doesn't do anything, but look at that Rockcraft, the Nano Fire Strike Shatter. He absolutely brings us back the sound barrier from Flint, managing to just only save themselves, but it doesn't even matter. That time Jake looking so good, but Exodus not being able to bring it out all the way.
Yeah, that spawn advantage will do it to you. It's almost as bad as 2 CP, but not a terrible push from Exodus. Not the best push. You know, they could have gotten it a little bit further, closer to the final capture, or maybe even capturing it. But they did at least get it past that final bend. You can see the box of victory.
I feel Yeah, I feel the main issue that happened to Exodus there was just in the way they were engaging. They were either really too scared to fully commit to the fight, or nobody was pushing that cart when they had the ability to move up. They were just playing so split and around each other that Quokka Queens had the ability to take their time, and even then, at least one would live, get a pick, and then everyone else would spawn back and fight a 5v6.
Yeah, one of the crazy things about why they kept pushing up to the high ground, all 6 of them, was that you're essentially just funneling yourself to the mercy of the defenders in that case, and Quokka Queens were just able to shoot into one singular direction and get so much damage. They were cycling through ultimates so quickly because they were building them so quickly. It was only one direction that they were coming from. Interesting position to hold on defense for Exodus. I'm not sure where they're going with this, but they have a very quiet parade.
You know, they must be watching Waddy's streams. He always talks about holding close and spawn camping. My idea with this is that they have such sustainability with the Brig is that they want to hold close when they get to that point, but they're running double bubble. You're not going to be able to brawl on them except for the support. And are Quokka Queens watching the stream in the future? Because now they've scouted out perfectly, but they pick off Spongy Cheek. The headshot doesn't even matter. He's so bad at this game as now they're able to take him. But Navino managed to get trigger happy, and that's the one person you don't want to go down, as now they're fighting and Rockstraps goes down, but this Pharah, they have nobody to stop him. As Pineapple gets antsy, Mellow goes down, but Spongy Cheese is able to just get these picks, and now they tried their best. Sure, they're going to have a faster respawn, but they did give Navino about 82% if he just didn't die.
Yeah, that unfortunately, or I guess fortunately for Quokka Queens, they ran out on that Pharah. I don't know if they were expecting the close hold, but it doesn't really matter because the Pharah is something that counteracts close holds. It punishes them because the rest of the team can just focus on the main. Pharah can flank around and do exactly what Navino just did. He got a ton of value for essentially no effort. I mean, he used a singular concussive blast and halved all of Exodus's healing.
And now he has Barrage, as Rockstrap is so far in and is unable to get any appeal. The anti-hitting 2 of them. The Barrage is there! The Immortality and Diva Bomb saving them, but he manages to get Kemi. And now Spongy Cheese is in for the cleanup. Such good coordination. They didn't shut him down, and that's the part that's going to be costing them in the end.
Yeah, you gotta be careful about the Pharah with these brawl compositions. It's really going to be Kemi's job to keep an eye on Navino in this case and deal with him, because he's the only one who can easily do so. Trigger Happy can poke in a little bit extra damage in the meantime, but it is going to be Kemi's responsibility. And he just kind of lost track of Navino and allowed him to get away. I mean, it was basically just a free barrage at that point.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is that Trigger Happy is getting staggered. Looks like they're using that Pulse Bomb to look for someone. Is unable to find anyone. Exodus do have both DPS ults, but on the opposite side, we're going to be seeing a grab in those support ults. This is getting a little worrying for Quokka Queens. Not Quokka Queens, Exodus, as they have to play a lot more aggressively into this fight. They have to ignore the Pharah. They're going right in. Rockstrap getting that brawl out. The high noon being used. Shuts down both supports before the ultimates can be used. Grab kills Flint, but the Primal is out to move them around. Amplification Matrix hoping to shut them down as everyone on Quokka Queens is low. Shard builds, and the barrage comes out. And it looks like they're even unable to kind of finish out this fight as Spongy Cheese is fighting Trigger Happy. Recall Shard is getting these picks. Who is he?
I'm not sure about that barrage, Navino, unless he was going to swap, but it doesn't look like it. So that was a little bit over-aggressive. They didn't need that to get kills, and it's probably going to start flipping against them, against their favor now, because you do have a lot of picks going back and forth, and Quokka Queens can only push up as far as they have a man advantage. The defenders have the advantage now. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so Kemi's just going to be equalizing the fight, and they still have Blizzard. I was expecting him to engage with Blizzard the last time.
And the Shatter comes out, hitting Monarch. They bubble to save him. Spongy Cheese Blizzard being used, and now gets churred. And honestly, compared to Navino using the barrage at the end of the last fight, compared to using both Blizzard and Shatter, I feel like they still went out in that.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because they have 3 ultimates now, they can cycle through them, whereas when you look at Quokka Queens, they have Barrage again, but it's going to be hard to go into that with Kemi, especially since he just domed Navino. But, you know, they have both support ultimates, they have just about both DPS ultimates, but how do you use those effectively, especially in double bubble? when it's not so much about the ultimates as much as their cooldown management that they need to worry about.
Already jumping up, using that nano. Diva Bomb gets stopped by the May wall, but Rockstraff is now stuck in the enemy backline, now using jump. He's uncontested. Primal coming out high and looking to get someone. Manages to get Mellow once more. Barrage interestingly gets used as they're looking to just kind of end this fight as fast as possible, still having both the Valk and Pulse Bomb.
Yeah, and they should probably have about an equal time as Exodus. Oh,
we're seeing another pause. Rockstraff. They only have about, 2 minutes or something left, so they're not going to have much time to fix their... 2 minutes and 20 seconds. They're not going to have much time, but either way, when they cap this, they get, a minute and something back, so maybe a bit over 3 minutes?
I don't remember. I think they get 2 minutes, but I could be thinking of a completely different thing. Exodus had almost exactly 4 minutes going into their third point, so that'll be the gauge to which Quokka Queens have to compare themselves to in terms of their second point push. It's been a little bit more staggered, but they had about a minute extra going into second point compared to Exodus. Granted, getting second point is not necessarily the death knell for Exodus, as they still have to push it a decent amount of the way through third. It's not the whole way, but it is probably 80% of the way there, and the spawn advantage is very real for Exodus once you get to that point. So,
but honestly, this is still in the card is under the bridge, but a bit too forward. That is one of the best kind of positions that you could be. That's still close to the third point, because I feel it both fair for Exodus to kind of run back to, and Quokka Queens are going to need to focus when it comes to that, as now they're entering in barely with any time left, about a minute 30 left. We now see Tilted switching over to that Ash. We're going to see how this coordination goes. No, Vino getting tilted. Oh, no. This is not looking good, but if Vino goes down...
Oh, no. Okay, well, yeah, if I were to Vino, I'd swap right now.
They bubble it. It looks like they're wanting to res it, and they're unable to shut it down as the bubble was out. They're now valking to give themselves the advantage into this fight. They're fully committing into this fight. The anti gets missed. The Vino gets a bit too close, and now he gets punished. Now Rocktraff in their backline, just like Reinhardt.
So fast.
And the hammer is a threat, as Shurd now has Graviton Surge, but they don't want to let him leave with that high charge.
No, he's dead. He is very dead, and that is going to be a lot of... well, actually, no, never mind. Both supports on Exodus have their ultimates already. I was going to say, that's a lot of ult charge that Pineapple is going to give the supports, but again, he already had it. And this is going to be a pretty funky fight for Quokka Queens. They're going to have to take a drive fight. There's almost no chance that they're going to win with just a Graviton Surge when Exodus has essentially 5 ultimates online. If I were Exodus, I'd be looking to use Window almost immediately, build the rest off of that, maybe use High Noon if you need it. And yeah, Davino swapping over to the Reaper. That's
already falling out. They Shatter gets hit. They're unable to do anything as a Spongy Cheese and Rockstraff get shut down. They're looking to just move that payload, but Flint is contesting them. Shurd does manage to get that pick. 2 ultimates already used on the side, while everyone on Quokka Queens gets a bit more ult charge. Shurd manages to help get Monarch the ultimate, but they still have 3 on the side of Exodus, and this is not looking good for Quokka.
Yeah, they do still have 2 minutes, but they probably need to take another drive fight, because they need either that Death Blossom or that Shatter to come up for Rockgrass. I think he just used Shatter, actually, so he should be able to build it up rather soon. But Exodus still has a distinct advantage. If they push high ground again, Vespi can just toss in the bomb. That's going to be very awkward for Quokka to deal with.
Look at that, High Noon being used, Graviton Surge in the back, but the Maywall blocks them off. Then the Rockstraff is unable to be saved. That Diva Bomb now comes out. Bit of overcommitment, and Flint uses Sound Barrier. That's the part where I have to say that is where Exodus are going to be paying for their sins. Flint
Possibly, yes.
That Sound Barrier was so powerful because it manages to go against that grab, but now Churd's on Diva. And especially when Monarch is looking for these antis, you need that Sound Barrier, or else one anti is your team dead.
Possibly. Again, the ultimates are relatively even. If Pineapple can get a big Shatter, that will open up the fight a lot more than a Nano Boost could. They do need to be weary of the Nano Boost, of course, because that's going to build Rockcraft's Shatter or Navino's Death Blossom. Whoever they
look at that. They already drop onto the point. Nano coming out. But Pineapple can stun Monarch. Managing to get tilted. Wow, full Pineapple going down. It looks like they fell onto them but weren't prepared. This is not looking good as they shut now everyone. Navino's coming up.
I don't think they can touch. Can they? No, Vespi can.
best we can, but they have no ultimates or anything as Pineapple comes back and Navito's gonna have Death Blossom. Churn is able to and they can't touch as Quokka Queens are able to bring this in to a 2-0 victory.
That was so dangerously close for Quokka Queens. I think they can rest easy knowing that they're up 2-0, but that map very easily could have gone a different way if Pineapple had just been a little bit more patient with his Shatter. And I think that's really the defining factor of this series so far is Exodus, again, have that higher skill ceiling, but they just are making these tiny little mistakes that are costing them the maps. But this is a very close game so far.
Yeah, the fact that they dropped underneath them, but the team didn't fully commit was the issue. If Flint had sound barrier, then they could have, aggressively engaged, but they didn't have the ability to play that. And I feel that was a miscalculation. They didn't have, the region to hide back to wait until that gets installed. And that was just a small issue, but honestly, that was so close and truly one of the sections that we could say but that these teams were completely equal in. We understood their weaknesses, so now going in, they're going to need to adapt. Oh, man. I am just really hoping for kind of to see what these teams go in. Quokka Queens obviously has the momentum. Exodus is looking to kind of go in the in-between we're in kind of this 2-0 lead. They can 100% bring this back. Exodus are showing the ability to, but I'm feeling that the over-aggressiveness is going to pay for them. They had the Mei, and the fact that everyone was going high ground most of the time was feeding in and allowing them to build in. But the over-aggressiveness managed to because they just fell down. And that's not something great. We're now seeing Titanic come into the game. Finally, the man, the myth himself, finally coming back in the main tank. So now Rockcraft isn't in your back line, curiously, for some reason.
Yeah, definitely. And I think having Titanic will give them a little bit more comfort. As it's someone who's actually been playing main tank all season long, this might not bode well for Exodus. So they're going to need to really pull themselves together and make sure that they don't allow going down 0-2 in the series thus far. Let that define the rest of the series. This is not first to 3 anymore. This is first to 4 grand finals. They have a lot of time to bring this back if they are capable. They just need to make sure that they're not boomed.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that. But if you're Exodus, I don't think you should be boomed. You've been playing so great up until this point, and the moment you start doubting yourself, the moment you feel like you're not doing good enough, that's what the coaches are there for. They're taking on that stress. That's their job, and your job is just to pop off and go in. So when going into the next one, we have Kings Row, heavily brawl-centered. This is Exodus's time to shine. They have played so aggressively, and now we're seeing Shun come in for Spongy. I feel like this is the opportunity Exodus have to full hold Quokka Queens and demoralize them.
Possibly. Of course, Titanic is coming into this not as warm as the rest of his team, but it is also a new leaf, so he could come in and use this as the opportunity to just completely roll over Pineapple and completely flip the main tank difference around if he wants to build up that momentum for himself. But we'll have to wait and see as I think they have a few minutes left.
Hear me out, Akri. Hear me out. Recently, within Kings Row, we've seen a lot of kind of brawl in. But what if one of these teams runs the AC 130?
Yeah, the Bastion teleporter strat on first point up to the top of the statue. It is rather popular, although it's something that only works once. It is highly counterable as long as you know what to do, especially if they're putting in Shun. I'd expect he's going to be playing Mei or Doomfist. If he's playing that Mei, he can deal with the Bastion decently enough, or at the very least the teleporter, so they can't get the Bastion up into the position they want. On the other side of things, I wouldn't really expect Quokka Queens to try the AC 130. It really would be Exodus, if anyone. Especially because Exodus, with their DPS, are going to be able to deal with the Bastion rather quickly, I would have to assume.
Yeah, honestly. And I feel that the Bastion comp hasn't been at least looked at a way to where you can beat it besides from strictly predicting it. We've seen it happen mostly in Expert where they counter it by running a Hanzo, and I'm betting money. Quokka Queens runs AC 130 because I'm seeing them wanting to run something unconventional. If they run the straight up brawl and they're not looking for any chance to just confuse and make Exodus adapt, then they are missing those opportunities to win.
Possibly, but at the same time, Quokka Queens has been winning thus far in the series, so possibly they don't need to change anything up, especially now that they have their tank line restored, I suppose you can say.
This is looking like their starting lineup. I'm pretty sure that while it's been pretty intense so far, there's so much more that we're waiting to see.
Yeah, and they got about 1 minute remaining before we get into the map in earnest. 30 seconds as I say that. So we will be into jolly old London rather soon. And it'll be Exodus's chance to start turning this around. If they lose King's Row, they got a reverse sweep if they have any chance.
And I feel like that would make for a great story arc. That would be so stressful. I don't think I can mentally handle. I've reverse swept my fair share of times, but never in a first to four victory. Oh man!
Here we go. So this is the penultimate map for Quokka Queens as far as they're concerned. They want the 4-0.
Yep. If you're Exodus, you just want to win this map. You don't want to have that 4-0. As well as if you win this, imagine the moral boost that you're gonna have. I believe in both of these teams. Well, I have to play neutral here. I can't say that I'm favoriting anyone. And look at that, immediately seeing the brawl come out.
We might have a pause come in for a second. Yeah, we do have a pause coming in for Quokka Queens.
Not even in, and they're still pausing.
Well, they had to start, so they didn't have any time left. So they just gotta eat into their pause time for the time being. Yeah,
that's not looking great. Roxcraft looking like the new Vantage, who just pauses every 10 minutes or something. But looking at the compositions that we're seeing first, it looks like Quokka Queens are running to run Hanzo, possibly attempting to think they're running AC 130 or just wanting for that shield break and positional thing, while Exodus are just running our classic brawl composition.
Yeah, it seems like this is the comp that Exodus wants to run for the most part. And it's not a terrible composition. It has a lot of heals, has a lot of utility, as well as a good amount of poke damage from the Kree, and a lot of tank utility and survivability. So it's all around a solid comp. It was meta for probably 2-3 months around this time last year. So, whereas looks like we're going to be seeing a much higher damage output brawl. Yeah, much higher damage output brawl from Quokka Queens. However, they're not going to have a dedicated hit scan outside of, I suppose you could say, Navino is a pseudo hit scan here with the Hanzo.
Yeah, and I don't feel they're running this at risk. I feel like they're just messing up with it there. But they're looking like they want a pure offensive support line. Nope, that Lucio, thank goodness. Always offensive ult.
Yeah, so I'd expect a lot of area denial here from Quokka Queens. They want to take down Exodus before they ever get the chance to get through the choke and onto points, whereas Exodus really just needs to push W and get to point fast.
Yeah, look at them. The brawl already out. Titanic gets stunned, but he's still in. Pineapple being saved by the immortality as the male far back. Sean able to get the pick on the fence. Now they have no speed boost to get out, and everyone on Quokka Queens is just running in to get that ult charge.
Yeah, it looks like Trigger Happy will get out with his life, just barely, but that's mostly because Rockcraft didn't decide to feed. Now that he's on his comfort picks his actual role, so to speak. Shunned, of course, basically up to his Riptire Monarch as well. Close to their ultimate, and Titanic basically has the Shatter. Tilted Waffle actually onto the Pharah. Interesting pick here, especially because they don't have a dedicated hit scan, like I said, so that's an interesting observation from Tilted.
Yeah, but they managed to shut down Navina before he could finish them, and now this brawl goes in. They're having to play so carefully. They're scared to fully commit into this fight as Vespi's able to run right on them. They're now rotating into the house, now going back down, but shutting down the Shatter and Amplification Matrix, shutting them down. It looks like when Navino died, they just kind of panicked, and Navino going on to the McCree. Now they have a dedicated hit scan.
Yeah.
And this is going to get a lot harder for Tilted Waffle to play in such a narrow-cornered phase.
However, if there is any point in the entire game where Afara can actually duel a McCree reasonably well, it's going to be here. There's so many tight corridors where he can just hide behind, poke out for a brief moment, shoot, and then go back around. So I would expect Tilted Waffle to stick on this for the time being.
Yep, look at that Riptire looking searching around, and Navino manages to get Tilted Waffle. The Mercy looking like they want to rest, but they still don't. Fire Strike manages to shut them down. Why is Mello in the back line? As they shut him down. They're now looking to back up, but that Junkrat gives them so much room to spam down the middle, and that burst damage just kills Kemi. Shatter comes out, it gets blocked, and the res comes on, but Navino manages to get Tilted Waffle again. That Diva Bomb out there in the Immortality, and it gets blocked. The counter bomb now out high noon. Every ultimate.
What is happening?
And Clint used Valk, but gets shut down as now Pineapple is just trying to brawl this out. Titanic going so low, managing to get saved. Shatter not managing to get anyone as it gets blasted into the air, but Exodus have more Matrix, and Blizzard gets used. Pineapple as Tilted Waffles in their backline looking, and is just able to get so much value in. What a messy fight, and Exodus managing to win it out and still having Barrage.
Yeah, that was honestly just Quokka Queens desperately trying to hold this choke point. They did not want to give this up, and they did a good choke point. But you kind of have to realize you're killing your ult economy, and that's probably going to be the vast majority of second point yielded for basically no time wasted for Exodus. So that was kind of sloppy play from Quokka Queens, uncharacteristic for Marsupial Gaming in general, especially because Tilted just kind of did whatever he wanted. He now has Barrage, and he can do whatever he wants with it. You know, this is a really good area for him to be in, and this is, you know, he's not going to be holding anything for third point. Third point isn't particularly good for him.
Look at that Riptire being used. They're now waiting. Tilted Waffle looking for that Barrage, still taking his time. That Riptire's looking for the Pharah, but that nope, now it's going all the way around, and it manages to get full Flint and Pineapple. You now need to hold it and get out of there, Tilted, as you're trying to back cap the point. As nope, they're found out, looking to be shut down before anything. Living off of, managing to live off of little. Never mind, they're down.
His Pharah movement leaves something to be desired, but I think I know him more for a hit scan with a few flex DPS. Possibilities.
What I'm really liking here is, if we look at the ult economy, Quokka Queens have the ability to play a bit more free now.
Yeah, definitely. They have the High Noon, they have the Shatter. Actually, Titanic's been holding on to the Shatter for a while now, but he's not going to get a chance to use it, possibly.
No, he charges out of the Immortality! As the Sound Barrier comes out, the High Noon being used, they manage to get Tilted Waffle after the Barrage, and now they have the advantage. Navino managing to get Vespi to shut this down, and goodbye, as you're now gone.
Pineapple just got booped to the moon and back and never got a chance to use the Shatter. Granted, Titanic hasn't been allowed to use the Shatter either, so both Reinhardt's not having a good time. Unfortunately, Pineapple already used his Shatter, whereas Titanic at least still has it. Tilted Waffle, surprisingly, and I guess not too surprisingly, swapped over to the Junkrat as opposed to the Pharah. I kind of like that pick more. Interesting to see it in tandem with the Mei, but I could definitely see it working. A lot of area denial as well as utility. Not gonna have a lot of damage.
The Diva Bomb comes out. That's almost perfectly placed as Rocktrap gets hit by the Diva Bomb, and now the Blizzard enables them to walk in, as well as the Sound Barrier. A bit of an overcommitment, as they had already won with the Blizzard, but now it seems that they're wanting to absolutely win.
Yeah, if you're Flint, I don't think you worry too much about that. She used it in a little bit late in the fight there, probably not the best, but at the very least, you're going to be building up beats so quickly in this composition, as well as just having the decisiveness to actually use your ultimates, because now you have third point. That's a relatively difficult place to get to, especially where they were holding the car up until that point.
Yep, so they're now falling into this, the amplification matrix, and Melon goes down. How unfortunately, so many ultimates as Riptire and High Noon get used, committed. That's everything. Quokka?
Yeah, so Quokka Queens used 4 ultimates there. The High Noon, the Shatter, the Riptire, and the Bat Matrix. Shunned, swapping off of the Junkrat, so I'm not going to blame him for the Riptire there. He just wanted to get the Mei. So that's reasonable. Everything else, you know,
not looking great. Now you're looking for a dry fight. Trigger Happy using that amplification matrix. They now have to back up the Mei wall, saving them some damage. As Pineapple goes dangerously low, that Riptire Shatter comes out, hitting Titanic and everyone. Immortality saving him. As now they're kind of rotating around this point. Navino now going down Titanic as well. And now everyone of Quokka Queens now shooting in. It looks like they just want to stall this.
Yeah, Mello really just stalling out the clock as much as he possibly can, but it's not going to last very long. Everyone's staring at him. And crucially, you have a few ultimates still. I mean, Kemi's going to have his Blizzard relatively soon. Tilted already has his tire, and Navino really just has to hit his shots if he wants to stop that tire. Otherwise, I don't see anyone else doing anything about it.
That one blocking, they're already having to touch point. The panic is now ensuing as both teams get ready. Immortality from both teams being used. The Blizzard out, but it gets Ian. The Diva Bomb in the shatter. But it goes over the edge. It falls off the map. The Blizzard forcing them off the point as they now have to brawl in. Kemi all the way on the side. Amplification Matrix only being used to shut down the Diva. Counter Diva Bomb now out, but Mello's being able to survive, and the shatter comes out. There's only 4 on point, but now they're getting the advantage. Drop the May wall. No, it's blocking the LOS. Navino manages to get nothing, but he's still able to zone them out. It looks like Junkrat's just trying to do his best to pop them off. Soundbaiter keeping this fight alive as Monarch's the only one on Quokka with an ultimate. The ball coming back, being able to managing to get Tilted Waffle off the map with a charge. He's insane as Roxcraft is able to be moving around. Navino switching over to the Soldier 76 so he can be able to touch it. Now this is just a stall fest. The goal is to get it to overtime as Roxcraft gets booped on the map by Investment, and they're able. Immortality. They're looking
Tilted's
to
gonna
just
have another tire.
And the Titanic is about to build up another shatter. It's up to whoever pops it first. The Riptire coming out. It's gonna shut down Roxcraft. And now they win with 6.7 seconds. That fight lost because Roxcraft's bomb slid off the map.
Oh, that was kind of tragic if you're Quokka Queens, although there was a tragic moment there if Exodus got held, where both Blizzard and Riptire were canceled from Titanic Shatter. They tried to use it at the exact same time, and Titanic shattered and canceled both of them, which I've never seen that happen before.
That's a 1 in a million chance, and now Exodus have such a high win condition.
Yeah, at the very least, they have a good chance of holding the holding third point. They have a decent chance of first holding. There's a decent chance of holding the very end of second point. So there's a lot of potential here if they have a good defense of just outright winning the map. Granted, they're no longer in that range where if Quokka don't tell me. If Quokka uses all of their time and captures 3 points, they still get another push, as opposed to if Exodus had captured it with like a minute or so. It looks like Quokka might actually be doing the AC-130, but they are still in spawn, so there's the potential for them to just meme around, because their tank line is also atrocious right now. So...
but I'm not... Well, Shun's not on the Symmetra, so... I actually don't really see the AC-130 being run anymore.
Possibly, because Titanic is now on the Rhine, Rockcraft's on the Sigma, and that's what you'd run with the AC-130. Shun, possibly. Yeah, okay, they're doing it.
The AC-130, Gordo wins this one once more, understanding how these teams want to play. They've already scouted out as they immediately brawl on. AC-130, the Immortality keeping the Bastion alive, but now they shut down Navino. This brawl still going so heavy. Mello going down. Now they have less healing, and everyone has to back up. What an amazing strategy coming out of Exodus.
That wasn't just amazing. That was like textbook perfect how you shut that down. They're like, hey, they have a Bastion. Run. And it worked really well, because now you have them swapped off onto a completely different composition, which arguably I'd say is not the best attacking composition. Navino's going to get pressured out by Tilted here. And he is known as a pretty nasty hit scan player, as well as Kemi hitting quite a few icicles in the meantime. Pineapple already has better.
Trigger Happy with the Amplification Matrix already out. Titanic getting frozen. Trigger Happy goes down. And look at Pineapple counters and hits them in the back line, and nobody but Navino is left alive.
Yeah, Exodus did lose a few people there, and they are rather low. I believe they actually lost both supports, so they need to play careful here. Ideally, if you're a Pineapple, you'd be backing up a bit further, because you do not want any spam damage claiming lives here, especially when Trigger Happy and Flintless are relatively close to coming back.
Nope, their supports are back, same. And Tilted Waffle asked I knew he's going to be able to shut down this far so easily, especially with the barrage already. But there's nothing eating them now. Pineapple already split. Immortality coming out. Blizzard being used to kind of get them inside there. But that barrage out. Nobody able to shut it down. The Riptire as well. And High Noon tries to get any sort of value. Manages to find Navino, but there's nobody left to kind of get the value into this lost fight for Exodus.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is probably going to be first point for Quokka Queens Exodus. it was a really good blizzard from Kevin. We'll give him credit for that, but the follow-up just was not there, and they allowed Navino to just kind of run amok, which ironically is what Tilted did on first point on Pharah, so they kind of gave him a taste of their own medicine. But Exodus do have a close hold here for this choke point onto second point, as well as having a beat and quite a few ultimates coming up on the line. Okay, Kemi, well...
Yep, look at that. Navino already going down. The Reds comes out, but Titanic takes his place as the Maywall is stopping them. And look at this aggressive play coming out of them.
You know, I was saying that Titanic could use this map as an opportunity to assert dominance over Pineapple. Pineapple did the same to Rockcraft, but I think Pineapple's still just feeling it on Reinhardt because he has not been missing a beat thus far. And they have quite a few ultimates on the side of Exodus to work with. Granted, Quokka does as well. I think that's why Exodus is playing further back here. They're waiting for a better opportunity to use some of their ultimates.
Yeah, remember, Exodus has Red Knight as a coach. All he knows is it. Diva Bomb comes out, Riptire, and looks like Soundbear saving them as Riptire is coming out looking for a target. Immortality keeping it alive. Titanic goes down with Shun! Getting the 3K. He's both beautiful and powerful. But Tilted just put down Navino in the 1v1 too. That was actually kind of funny.
Yeah, Tilted surviving with just a fraction of health. Never mind, he's gone now. But Shun, despite the fact that I didn't necessarily like the Junkrat pick on the offense here, he made it work. I will give him credit where credit is due, and that's third point, you know? Quokka does have a decent amount.
Yeah, but the Shatter comes out, and they're looking to get these stagger picks early. Pineapple now charging out, but he's still stuck, not able to be sped out. And, I mean, this doesn't look as bad as it may seem.
No, they still have a long ways to go to push the cart. They only have one person on cart, so the defense has a lot of leeway here, especially with Tilted finding that pick. That's not really going to be very helpful for Quokka Queens. They're probably going to have to play a bit more passive without that damage.
Yeah, but look at this. They don't. Shun switching over to that Mei, looking to slow them down. The High Noon coming out, managing to get 3, but same with the Blizzard, and they're going to be able to finish this fight out.
Yep, 2 ultimates used, 6 men down. That's really all you could ask for if you're Exodus. They needed to stop that momentum, and now the ultimate economy is essentially even for the time being. You have both teams with 1 ultimate. Rockcraft's coming up onto that Graviton Surge, but Vespi has been eating a few ultimates here and there. So there is the potential. You know, if I were Vespi, I'd be being very careful of that. That is going to be a win condition in the upcoming fight, as well as being careful of Navino and his positioning if you're Tilted.
Yeah, look at that wall coming out, managing to hit Pineapple, but there's still room for open. The Shatter hitting absolutely everyone, and now the Barrage comes out, Navino saving the fight as Titanic now goes down in the counter fight. Shun, Pineapple also gone. It's up to Navino, the Reds bringing Titanic back. They now have that shield to move them forward. The Valkyrie now giving them that space to move in. It's all up to Quokka Queens to get these stagger picks, but they have Graviton Surge. They managed to get Kemi now. It looks like Tilted is
can't touch
around, and the grab they can't touch. So for 3 minutes, hold. I guess this is why they called Navino the King of King's Row.
Possibly. That was honestly just a terrible positioning play from Exodus's supports. You can't play that close together in this kind of composition. At the very least, Trigger Happy needed to be further back, because allowing yourselves to die instantaneously together in a barrage like that lost them that fight. That was entirely their positioning that, you know, allowed the snowball to happen. When you have 4 people up and none of them are supports, they're just going to fall like they did. You know, they can find exiting picks, but especially with Melo having the res as necessary, that's just opened up everything and allowed them to Quokka Queens to capture so much faster than they otherwise would have.
Yeah. So now when we look at this, it seems that Exodus are wanting to run AC-130 or some they're running it as Quokka Queens are running a Pharah double shield.
So the interesting thing here, if they decide to run out with this exact AC-130 strategy, is that they're not going to have anything to protect the Bastion. Granted, they could also, instead of running it on top of the statue, they could use it to teleport around the point and sort of stick together as a crew. If they do that, I would expect Navino to just be melted out of the sky faster than he knows what hit him, because far up in the sky, very easy to hit. Bastion, a lot of damage.
it's all up to Navino to kind of shut down this Bastion Kemi, and now they already up. Navino's predicted it, teleported down, and Kemi gets down immediately.
Yeah.
They wasted time, and now they need to back up. They're now continuing in this fight as Shun gets antsy, but now they have to back out. They're unable to do anything. They switch off of the Bastion, and now they're having to regroup. Only 30 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, this is their last fight. Tilted onto the Symmetra. I think I'm not incredibly happy with that swap, but I guess they could try and make something work.
Pineapple gets stunned before he gets charged in. So never mind, he now hits Roxcraft as they're looking. Titanic is inside of them and gets shut down for that. As now the Matrix comes out. Navino managing to get Kemi, but he's unable to get any value to want to pop this barrage.
Navino has barrage. He can't use it.
Shut down. No, they reg Roxcraft though, so now they have an opportunity to bring this fight back. No, they lost spawner. They charge. The high noon being used. They need to get the ultimate. Shatter coming out, and now they're looking. Pineapple using Shatter.
I think I don't even know what to think about that. That was just weird. That was absolutely crucial from Exodus, though. They needed that. This is a huge tempo boost for them. I said I wasn't really sure about the Symmetra, but Tilted made it work. He played really passive, and he got a ton of damage on board. He's playing a little bit aggressive right now, and they got to be careful with that because Navino does have the bar. He's not going to swap off the bar because the barrage is now the win condition. All he needs is a good barrage, and that wins the fight. That is the card now gone.
If you ask me, you're Flint, you build that sound barrier. You're Tilted Waffle, you use that symbol to kill Nev with his own barrage. Let's see how this fight goes.
Oh,
that
I like this bomb.
Coming out perfectly placed, but it's unable to kill them. Titanic goes down so low, though, and the barrage comes out. He gets stunned right behind him and shut him down. The cart reaching the halfway point. This is not looking good for Quokka. They're now brawling this fight, but the sound barrier is built. The Valk is used to get them some edge, but the Reds gets blocked out, and now they're going to be able to cap second point because they're shutting everyone and Quokka down.
This is absolutely insane, and Mello isn't even accomplishing anything with the Valkyrie. They're already in overtime. You can't stall for any longer. Shun just trying to do something on the Reaper, but it's not going to do anything. The High Noon is a little bit aggressive, but okay, I'm feeling it.
No, but if you're Exodus, this is what you want to do. This is so much more than you could have expected because you have to hold 3 minutes and 46 seconds on a overtime where you have to stay on the payload. That's hell.
And they already capped 2 points, and they have 2 ultimates coming up online. They have the Shatter, they have the Beat, and those are game-winning ultimates by themselves. Pineapple just needs to not whiff the Shatter. Flintless needs to play the Beat very carefully, wait for the right opportunity, and they could possibly cap all 3 points if not push.
The Shatter coming out, only hitting half of them. The sound barrier keeping them alive. Rockstraps now goes down as they're brawling in. Titanic with the Bongo. They have this extra damage, but they don't have anything to work for it now, popping it out. But the payload has moved halfway. There's only one more push. And now they're looking to just do anything as Shun gets moved to the map. Vespi, the MVP, Mello goes down, over aggressive, and now they're pushing in.
They have symbol. Oh my word.
And it blocks out the LOS. Rocktrap does charge in. The Shatter comes out, but it gets blocked. The Empress Ellie keeping him around. The Diva Bomb now out.
Are they gonna do it?
Goes down.
Are they gonna do it?
Nobody can touch. Goodbye, Shunned, because you're going in to Mello touches, but it's already too late. Even
they kept all 3 points in overtime.
This is absolute. I don't think I've ever seen this.
That is the most dominant attack I have ever seen on King's Row. Like, ever.
That
if you're Quokka Queens, you gotta feel it.
From one mistake, they stayed on that Orisa for way too long. For no reason. God, and now Exodus are just mocking by saying, God, I love the billing boomers. Just having to rub it in their face.
And I have the stream up on my opposite monitor, and we're just seeing them Exodus capture first point. So the chat, you're in for a treat. By the time you hear this, you'll have already been in for a treat. This is something and a half. I mean, 130 coming out for
what is it?
Potential of Quokka Queens.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never seen this happen before. But if Quokka Queens caps all 6. They both have a minute left in the time bank to continue capturing.
If that happens, I don't know which team would get boomed first, in all honesty, because we are 3 maps in and an hour and a half into this series, ladies and gentlemen. This is the longest finals I think I've ever seen thus far. This is probably going into tomorrow in some regards, but I like the early hold here.
We're gonna be playing this match in Overwatch 2, fellas. As
They're
they're
not running Symmetra.
No, they're running it differently. I'm guessing they're predicting it.
Oh, dear.
Now Nev and Sean go down. They tried to predict it, but they just get shut down and countered.
Again, Exodus didn't change anything about that extremely offensive defense. It just worked. They played really well, and sure enough, they swapped off onto the Pharah again, but never.
Gets staggered. One, that's not good. Either the Mercy has to waste the Valk early. I mean, the res early, or Nev's gonna be res. But look at
just give up
Pineapple.
on the Pharah entirely. I think that's the right call here because Kemi and Tilted Waffle have just been shutting down the Pharah thus far. They still have 3 minutes. They're not at death's door quite yet, but they need to play carefully.
Look at them rotating around Hotel. The stun coming out. The shatter. Managing to hit everyone, but the immortality keeps him alive. Titanic unfortunately walks out, and now everyone has to back out. Exodus looking so dominant right now.
They have so many ultimates to work with, and mind you, Quokka also has a few ultimates coming up online. You have the back window for both sides, but I mean, Exodus already have the High Noon. They're going to be coming up on the Blizzard, the Bomb, and the Beat rather soon, whereas Quokka, you have both tank ultimates on top of the Matrix, so they're going to have some offensive ultimates, but not a ton to work with. And if Exodus play this carefully, they could win this.
Yeah, look at that High Noon being used slowly. Kemi walks into the Immortality, just looking. Amplification Matrix used, but the High Noon is gone. Both teams just looking to contest, but Pineapple had no peel as Kemi's in the back line, and then uses High Noon, manages to get 2K, and now it's all left for them to stall this point as Tilted Waffles left. Only 2 minutes left on the clock, but that's going to be a lot less time when it comes into the push.
Yeah, especially because I don't believe they get any extra time. Yeah, they don't, because this is extra rounds, folks. Exodus really just need to... They could take this into third points and just win a singular fight, right? They just need to stall out the clock as much as possible. And the Streets phase of Kings Row takes a long time. If I were Quokka, I'd be taking 3 people on cart perpetually. The longer they have just Mellow on this cart, that is the worst mistake of this map. Because they're not going to get 2-second points of capture by the time they get there.
Yeah,
outside of overtime.
Tilted Waffle goes down half, but they're already the shatter. The game is stuttering. Let's not crash. As Quokka Queen is not being able to get any value. They invest the Blizzard curiously enough. Rockstraff getting the pick. The Sound Barrier keeping this fight alive as we now see Tilted Waffle just having to blizz this off. Shun is now stuck on that point, and he's going to be shut down. He can't get out of that situation. Shun, he may be
maybe not.
No, but they bring this back. Already getting the 2K. The Graviton Surge being used, not Ian. The High Noon didn't need to use, but it does.
Okay, so they might be able to capture second point outside of overtime now because they are holding 2 people on cart. I think they probably should get 1 more person, although they only have 4 people alive right now, so never mind on that point. But Exodus have so many ultimates to work with here. They can win a singular fight. Hell, they have time to recontest second point, and they have the ult advantage to do so. They have 4 ultimates. Quokka Queens only has beat. That can't sustain through everything.
Fight as that wall comes out. No. Shield, but looked away. Sound Barrier keeping them alive, but Titanic is gone. Without it, as Sound Barrier is now gone. It's all up for the clutch factor of these players. Quokka Queens looking dislodged. Shun goes down. Rockstraff goes down. 10 seconds on the clock. Mellow goes down. Monarch and Nev are the only ones alive, and Monarch is the one who has to touch, but he gets shut down. Ball touching on this point. No, he does.
He barely does.
It's frozen. Nev goes down. The stagger is here. Nobody can touch, and this is the end. They can't. Exodus winning Kings Row, bringing this into a 2-1. Who is the king of Kings Row now?
I think Pineapple has now claimed that throne, as it's always the main tanks you have to give credit to. But in all honesty, that was just a once-in-a-lifetime push from Exodus.
They have the liberty to have such a high ego right now. I would feel so demoralized. Titanic just came in. Shun just came in. This is their first map, and they just get bodied this hard. And all it cost them was 2 fights, and that has to kill you.
Absolutely. Like, this map, if Exodus allow it, can be series defining. They can turn the entire series around and just sweep it from the pure momentum that they just gained, because this was unreal. This is like on a different level of comeback. So they need to, of course, stay composed to make sure they're not throwing. But I mean, they weren't throwing on that final attack, and they definitely weren't throwing in that final defense. They played it really well. They didn't even give up second point on the second round. So there's a lot of potential here for Exodus to bring it back.
What cost Quokka Queens in their defense was the fact that they were on Orisa for so long. Like,
possibly, yeah. However, that is still a viable pick here. You know, it can be run, it can be played properly, and they just weren't playing it properly. They're kind of playing it up close and personal when you really need to utilize the Orisa's lack of mobility and ability to poke to stick further back and just work from there. You know, pick poke compositions as opposed to trying to play like a pseudo brawl against a team who's better at you than at brawl.
Yep, you know, but now what is it? We go on 2CP, and this is the one where both aggression and high target focusing works. Exodus, again, I feel like they have the advantage to play the way that they want to play, and I am I'm shaking. I have goosebumps from that last push, and we both know 2CP can last forever. So if you're Quokka Queens, what is your mentality to kind of go into this next map? You're thinking you're having to refresh everything.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like we will have a short break to allow the teams to recompose themselves and give us a break from talking for a brief moment. So we will be back in just a little while.
Yep, thank you so much. Welcome back, everyone. We are so thankful as we had a 20-minute break. These teams are now have time to prepare and get ready. Acri, how are you doing after that intense game?
I am still on the edge of my seat, in all honesty. That was just a miracle run from Exodus. And, of course, they had a 20-minute break to calm down. But hopefully they can retain some of that momentum and bring it even further into Hanamura. We have a couple seconds remaining before we get into the map in earnest. Exodus decided to defend, much to Willie's dismay. But that is neither here nor there, since Exodus once again will have the ability to make a statement if they want to stay in this series, right? If Quokka Queens win this, they'll be on match point, and that will be rather good for them and not so good for Exodus, to put it lightly.
Yeah, we're going straight to Hanamura, a 2CP map. I feel like this is honestly Exodus's time to shine. And we're not really seeing many changes besides from Spongy Cheese moving in for Shun, so they're most likely wanting to run that DPS.
Yeah, probably. I'd imagine Shunt is mostly just for their Mei specialist, like I've been hearing. So, Mei can work on Hanamura, but also probably want a little bit more flexibility on top of it. Plus, Spongy's just a ridiculously good player, so no real surprises for the time being. It looks like they actually are going to be running Mei, but probably going to want to swap off of it later on. So that's why they have Novino still in on the defense for Exodus. More or less the same thing that we've been seeing aside from Vespi onto the Orisa. Nothing too shocking. Pretty standard stuff. I'm sort of surprised to not see more spam, but for the most part, this is still perfectly viable. It's perfectly fine. Exodus just needs to keep playing like they have been, and I don't see any problems for the time being. As for the offense, interesting that they're running the Symmetra with a Mei. That's a very low damage composition, at least up until Spongy can build up some damage. But that's going to give Tilted Off a lot of time to get essentially free poke in, because he's going to be the highest damage person on the field for quite a while.
Yeah, I know. I am kind of liking the Symmetra because there's so many shields. Symmetra's basically has infinite ammo and infinite damage, and now they're moving in. That wall's going to be able to give them that space to move, and they're taking that pressure. Titanic gets stunned, but he's fine, as now they're playing early. Spongy Cheeks already has that high charge. He's able to move in and melt everything. Exodus has to play faster, but they're now having to play carefully, as that immortality is now being used. That wall manages to help split them and get mellow, as Vino manages to get Pineapple. They have no shield. Titanic now going down, but Spongy is going down from Flint's to 2K coming out, managing to save that fight.
We said it at the very beginning of this stream before the teams ever got into a map that Flint is a bit of a frag around the Lucio, and she's definitely proving that right now. A lot of ult charge for a lot of people. I was kind of interested to see that Spongy Cheese wasn't being focused down. Sure enough, swapping off of the Symmetra, deciding against that. I mean, they did waste a full minute of their offense.
Yeah, look at that, already charging in, deciding that they don't need anything and just want to go straight into the fight. The immortality comes out, Shatter gets blocked, as now they're using the high noon, and it gets the 4K because of the amplification matrix. What an amazing use of voltage.
Yeah, in all honesty, not the worst overinvestment. They use 3 ultimates, but they have 3 ultimates still, and they can use the fight where they're probably going to be using Blizzard and possibly Bongo. Probably can hold on to the beat for the time being. To build up back to another window, to another Shatter, to another High Noon. So not the worst overinvestment. I think if they used 4 ultimates, that would have been sort of the area that would have been awkward for them coming up into this next defense. And in the meantime, Quokka Queens don't have too many ultimates of their own. They still need to probably take a dry fight or take a slow fight in order to build up to an actual win condition for the time being.
Yep, now they're wanting to pressure in that Mei while managing to split them up. The amplification matrix looks like the Shatter comes out. Not many people Metal being able to get Pineapple into this, but the Blizzard getting both of the tanks, as Rockcraft now is going to get DMX, but they have no main tank. Everyone on Exodus having to kind of scatter back onto the point so slowly, as Flint's now gets popped off. But Kemi is only 1 hit left, just trying to touch this point to stall, and just immediately gets hit by Spongy Cheese.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do as a Mei without Ice Block, but they did a good job of holding. I mean, a minute and a half for first is not a bad stall whatsoever. a minute and a half left on the time bank. Tilted Waffle probably going to get out of here with his life. Yeah, there's not quite enough there to finish him off. But Navino crucially does have the Blizzard, so there is the potential for a snowball, depending on how
already dropping onto the point. Now they're brawling out that Blizzard, coming out, hitting absolutely everyone. Soundbarrier giving them the ability to play a bit more aggressively, but so does the counter to High Noon out. Same with the Diva Bomb. They just want to end this with ult as Kemi manages to live just barely. The brawl coming in. Looks like they're just looking. Rockstrap goes off on the edge as now Vespi is having to play carefully. The Shatter comes out, unable to hit anyone on the application matrices from both teams. Trigger managing to get Navina, but Mello getting Pineapple, and now they're able to bring this out. What a confusing fight, but it looks like Quokka Queens have overstayed their welcome as they staggered Navina.
Come on. You gotta win those. Yeah, but for the most part, the spawn advantage is very apparent right now. They're just gonna stagger the heck out of Rockcrafts. Unfortunate, but what can you do? They have quite a few boops, quite a few mechanisms to keep him from jumping off the point. Oh, no, they just finished him off a little bit too early, but that's still a lot of time off the clock. Now Kemi has the Blizzard. That's going to be absolutely massive for the defense, especially because Quokka Queens doesn't have anything going into this fight. They really need to take a dry fight, and they need to pray that Exodus is pressured enough to use some ultimates of their own. Whereas Exodus, they really just need to win these dry fights that Quokka Queens are taking with a singular ultimate to allow them to build up 4 ultimates at one time so they can answer.
Nope, yep, as we see them come in, that Shatter coming out, he's able to get Kemi. He had Blizzard, he's not going to be able to do anything. Now the High Noon beats him, manages to get stunned down. Pineapple so low in the immortality as they brawl out to the Waffle, managing to tilt Titanic as the amplification matrix is now used to kind of get this LOS. And Navino's stuck in their backline, the Diva Bomb stuck in that area. And now everyone on Quokka Queens has to back out. Kind of a confusing fight if you ask me.
Yeah, Quokka Queens definitely have to back out. They don't have a ton of time. 2 minutes is probably going to be whittled down to at least a minute, maybe even 30 seconds if they cap a time at all, because second point Hanamura is probably one of the hardest points in the entire game to take. And the defense have so much to work with. They didn't have to use Blizzard. That was what I was expecting them to use. Instead, they used the Matrix, which Trigger had be built up ridiculously fast. Pineapple had the Shatter in no time whatsoever. And Quokka Queens do have approximately 4 ultimates now, but so does the defense. So it's going to be a little bit of a draw here, especially when Kemi has the Blizzard and Vino doesn't quite yet.
Yeah, they go underneath, and now look, as they drop on, the Blizzard coming out, dropping on absolutely everyone. The Immortality keeping Titanic alive for a bit longer, but now Navino is split. The Blizzard comes out, but the Sound Barrier keeps them alive. It's a 5v6, 5v5. Vespi goes down. That Blizzard, that Maywall managing to stop them from getting onto high ground. Rockstrap is now getting D-back. Titanic trying to force to get on top of that Shatter. It's so unfortunate. Exodus looking so solid right now. The High Noon tries to pop off, not hitting anyone. Quokka Queens still in this fight. They want to hit it. They're being able to. Shatter comes out and hits two. The High Noon getting Trigger happy, and what looked almost scary, they managed to bring it back. Vespi using that ability. He has the Bongo saving it. The Charge Man doesn't manage to kill anyone, as now they have to try to stall with this. Flint doesn't have the Sound Barrier to do anything.
There's no way they can.
Turned so good. Tilted Waffles on the high ground.
They can't touch.
Can't touch. Nobody touched it. They were waiting for 6 or something. And QQ is able to bring that back. 48 seconds. That should have not been winnable.
No, yeah, that was just Exodus choking and then some. That was a really poor play on the defense. I don't know what what exactly they were doing, but they just kind of lacked target focus when it mattered most. You know, Navino threw out the Blizzard, completely whiffed it. That was perfectly fine. They did good of cleaning him up, but then after that, they kind of failed to get any more kills. Tilted Waffle having a really difficult time finding value with these High Noons. I mean, he had like, 3 High Noons on second point there and got 0 kills out of all 3 of them. So, you know, maybe some better positioning is in order. Get up to the high ground, try and get something from there. At least work from a different angle from the rest of your team if you're going to go for something like that, because they just hung out behind Titanic's shield and were completely safe from it. So, but 48 seconds is not the best time bank for Quokka Queens. You know, they certainly didn't have the snowball they probably wanted going into second point. Interesting composition from the defense here from Quokka Queens, the Ashe Pharah. So I could see Navino getting a lot of value from the Pharah, at least as long as Exodus runs out on this, not the Winston, the Reinhardt, Orisa, because they don't have anything to deal with Navino for the time being. But I expect this probably either works brilliantly for Exodus or fails horribly, and they swap to probably a May McCree brawl once again, and that'll be able to deal with the Pharah a bit more appropriately. So it'll really depend on if Exodus can take this point quick, or get to the point and set up fast. It really depends on how much Quokka Queens are expecting this teleporter.
Yep, looks like Titanic's playing a bit more forward. They're setting up now. Looks like they're wanting to place it going right on, but that thing gets broken before anyone can even step into it. That's honestly a lot better for Exodus than it is for Quokka. If I was
they're speeding back and swapping.
Yeah, they already know it's not going to work. Honestly, if I'm Quokka, you let them kind of teleport in and you pick off that one person.
That was actually beautiful play from Exodus, though, to like, okay, yeah, this isn't going to work. Let's just go back and swap right now. They didn't even take a fight. Quokka had no ultimate charge from that whatsoever.
Yep, going on to the straight brawl, they want to be able to play the rotations. Titanic going down so low, but he's perfectly fine. No sweat into this game, as now they're waiting. That speed boost comes out. Pineapple being taken in. Watchcraft goes down so low. Immortality to keep him alive. Tilted Waffle now goes down, as they're all having to back up. They have no shields. They need to rotate around. Their shield break is too high on Quokka Queens.
Yeah, definitely, especially with Spongee's tossing in the dynamite basically on cooldown, just doing a ton of DOT damage over time. So that'll really just chip away at them. Navino already has that barrage, and you have basically both tank ultimates up. Kind of surprised to see Spongy doesn't have too much of his Bob built up, and I kind of like this Echo swap from Kemi. As long as he sticks with his team, he can.
Yeah, look at that. The barrage comes out, but he was too far high. Kemi manages to kill him, but Rockstrap manages to get Pineapple in the shatter. It's absolutely everyone. There was no Reinhardt to shut him down, and they bring Navino back for the next fight, and that was so clean. They took that really, and look at that. They're staggering best speed. They're not even attempting to stop him.
As well. Unfortunate, but what can you do? If you are Exodus here, you really have to work with the ultimates that you got. You know, you already wasted, or sorry, Navino already wasted Barrage, so you can use your beat to engage aggressively, especially because Rockcraft's also wasted the Shatter the previous fight, so they can use the beat to just get onto the point and then go from there. They just need to become established against this Pharah, because that seems to be the biggest problem right now.
Yeah, look at them already walking out. Both amplification matrices are used, but Rockstrap gets split. Same, the Sound Barrier keeping this team fight alive as the Valk and Bongo are managing to help get out this damage. Rockstrap does go down. The Bob looking to get some picks off. The res on Rockstrap might help this out, but Tilted Waffle does manage to take out Navino. They don't have that far. Titanic managing to get Trigger Waffle, and now they're able to just kind of play on to this point, but Titanic they don't have anything. Only two people. Only the support and the Orisa are on this point. They have no ultimates. While he goes so low, the Shatter comes out and he dies. Bunny Cheese, the MVP hit scan. He is absolutely insane as Kemi has to back out before he gets staggered.
That is tragic. I'm not sure why Pineapple went for that Shatter. That might have just lost them this map, in all honesty, because they don't have anything to work with now. They're going to have Vespi King's bomb, but I mean...
Yeah, but they kind of have to rely on just speeding and on Quokka making a mistake, but they have the Shatter, and the Pharah's looking to get the pick. They managed to get the pick on the Spongy Cheese early. The res coming on. Shatter now gets blocked. They're looking to kind of get this opportunity. Navino managing to go down. They don't have the rest for that. The copy now looking to do anything, but the charge now out. Way too far out. As Spongy Cheese managed to get the pick on Flint's, the Shatter comes out, only managing to hit Monarch, and now there's no supports as Titanic's the only one on point. It looks like they're able to bring this back. Spongy Cheese may be getting these picks, but it doesn't matter.
He does have the Bob to contest point if he really wants to use it. I'm not sure if they want to hold this point though, or
no,
if they just
look at that, the Mercy touching. Spongy Cheese does manage to get trigger happy, but it looks like he doesn't want to invest.
No, they're not. They just want to hold second point. But I mean, they gave Exodus first point, and they now have 3 minutes with quite a few ultimates. In all honesty, they have the beat and the Shatter coming up online. I mean, the defense does have a lot of their own. So if I were Exodus, take a dry fight, don't use anything, and just let Quokka Queens waste their ultimates here. You know, they're probably going to look for the Barrage, if not the Bob, and that's really a good start.
100%. Look at that already amplification matrix used before they even enter into the choke, and that's so optimal. Sure, the immortality is gone, but if they want, they can wait. The time bank is still somewhat in their favor.
Yeah, and once again, Flintless basically has her beat.
Diva Bomb perfectly getting placed. Rockstrap doesn't turn around for it. Tilted Waffle managing to get it. But Navino and the Bongo managing to kill 3. They just shut it down. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's why I was saying they really needed a dry fight there. Yes, it was good that they were getting kills with their ultimates, but they didn't keep track of the Pharah, and this is the area that they were pushing into is very difficult to keep track of the Pharah. So she's, Navino just goes behind them, gets 3 kills easy, and cleans up the entire fight, despite the fact that Exodus was winning prior to that. Now they really only have support ultimates. They can't.
Yeah, look at this. Bungie has the Bob, throwing it right onto the point in their corner. They're trying to put pressure, but the charge coming in, dropping. Rockstrap does fall on the ground. He's now in an opportunity where nobody can peel. He pops the shatter and still manages to get the picks. Everyone on Exodus having to go down. That was so alpha, yet so unnecessary.
Yeah, that's probably going to come back to bite them in the butt because they still have a minute and a half. There's still plenty of time to deal with this offense for Exodus. And now they're coming up on some ultimates that they could actually do something with, right? Kenny's coming up on the duplicate. You have Trigger Happy, who's had the Bat Matrix for a little while. In the meantime, Quokka doesn't really have anything. They're going to have the Barrage, I suppose. But they're going to need something to work on top of that because Kemi has been keeping an eye on that Pharah and doing a decent job of isn't getting too cheeky with the positioning. So if Exodus plays this carefully, they definitely can push in here.
Yeah, now they're wanting to go high ground, but Navino already has the barrage. Look at that, already popping in. Amplification Matrix, it breaks the copy. It doesn't get anything more, but it shuts down the most powerful ult. Now Exodus have to kind of roll into this. They managed to get Spongy Cheese, but the res is coming out. The Far is there looking to try to get someone. Shatter! Hitting everyone! Rockscrap, who woke you up as Mello goes for the mercy kill onto the Echo. Oh my god, that was so insane. They're gonna have to be relying on the Shatter and Blizzard for this next fight against an Amplification Matrix and Bongo Bob.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Exodus aren't keeping track of this barrage more. You have to assume that Navino's going to be building it up every single fight because that's what's been happening, and he's just been using it as far as he wants, as opposed to Exodus actually tracking it, doing something about it. I mean, they could have Maywalled that last Blizzard.
Yeah, look at that Amplification Matrix being used down that main. Fire Strike gets Ian. The Shatter comes out, not hitting anyone. Blizzard used all this point. Rockstrap goes down. Navino getting Trigger Happy, and now they have to play carefully. Spongy Cheese and managing to get the DP bomb comes out, unable to find anyone. Pineapple being able to get that, and Barrage comes out. They're trying to kill Navino, but he manages to escape, and all there's left is best speed. I'm sorry, Exodus. What an amazing hold that you attempted to do, but you didn't touch point, and that's your undoing. You don't get a tick, and Quokka Queens are going in to match point.
Yeah, Quokka Queens 3-1 in the series. All they need is that 4th point, and they will be the champions of Flux Cup Apprentice Season 2, but they're not quite there yet. Exodus needs to win every single map from here on out, or draw every single map from here on out, if they want any chance in staying.
If you ask me, it's win. You don't draw, not even one.
Yeah, no, you need to keep the momentum, but draw will still keep them in the series.
Yep, we're now going straight into control that isn't Lijiang. We're going right to Nepal. These teams are ready. Could this end Exodus's season? Honestly, compared to the season 1, Red Panda has so much to be proud of. His students have become the masters and have brought a team that was being laughed at into an area of competence.
Well, at the very least, Exodus has a chance because they looked incredibly good on Lijiang, just a few small mistakes. So if they can bring that kind of energy and the energy they had on King's Row to Nepal, they have a very good chance of taking this map and delaying their loss or potentially getting that much closer to their win. I don't imagine we're going to see any substitutions for the time being. It seems like these teams are rather happy with these lineups.
Yeah, nothing against Shun or anything, but I think you want to keep Spongy Cheese in. He is just popping off. And honestly, it's just the fact that this man somehow can click heads through his small brain. And I feel like that's the factor, especially when you're going up against Kemi and Tilted. They both are doing so well in adding pressure. And I feel like Shun does so well in adding space, but Spongy shuts them down so fast that, I feel like he's right now against Exodus, the more favorable DPS.
Yeah, definitely. And you kind of need that pop-off potential, especially when you can put him on those comfort picks that he's known for, like the Ashe, the Widowmaker, the McCree, things like that, where he can make that difference and he can stand up to Tilted and Kemi, who are otherwise extremely dangerous DPS.
All right. Oh, man. I am so nervous. We're seeing Nepal. And if you ask me, this is either a center kind of let's say we go to Shrine, and that's the one with the middle point, right? Not the house, not the whole.
Okay, so Village is the one with the house, as you called it, though, the one where the Symmetra is actually going to be viable. Shrine is the one that's outdoors with the Pharah is rather common. Sanctum is the one with the giant death pit.
I think when it comes into this kind of favors. Well, I said for 2CP, but when it comes to playing different compositions, I think Exodus really have this. They've looked good on about everything, while Quokka Queens are really running kind of very detailed comps. So let's say we run on to Village. That's Brawl or Symmetra Bunker. Let's say it's something along the lines of Sanctum. That's, you could run Double Bubble, you can run Brawl, or you can run the kind of double shield poke, and that's all about rotation. So I feel like there's a lot of variety when it comes into this next fight.
Yeah, possibly. I think, in all honesty, as long as Exodus can win the two other maps that aren't Village, because Quokka Queens have looked a lot more comfortable in the Symmetra. Spongy T has been doing a lot more work on it. He's been playing it a lot more tonight. So I think Quokka Queens are probably going to be favored in that map, whereas the other two, I don't know. It's going to depend on how those teams play. If they can bunker up on Village, then Exodus might have a chance. But they need to play it very carefully. So, got about 2 minutes remaining.
Yeah. Ooh, and this is where Exodus have to feel the threat. After such a good game of King's Row, I worry that their 20-minute pause lowered their kind of momentum building. Sure, they get that reset, but Quokka Queens also gets that reset. So
yeah, definitely.
I feel like it's way better for Quokka Queens. They looked worrying when they were attacking, but Exodus looks like they're slowing down now.
Yeah, definitely, and they really needed to keep that momentum going. I don't know exactly why they needed the 20-minute break, but that was agreed upon for Exodus.
Yeah.
Like even prior to the series even starting. So that's something that they knew was coming into it. So they really just needed to be able to build around that. They had the momentum. They couldn't have predicted the momentum they were going to have from King's Row going into the break, but they needed to make sure that they could keep it moving, keep it rolling. And they kind of lost some of that spark in Hanamura, especially trying to deal with that Pharah of Navino.
Man, I see a bunch of people. A lot of people don't really like Navino, but I really think you have to give him credit. He has done so well into this game, as well as let's give some love to Flint's, who has built these sound barriers and have been helping out Exodus. But Monarch and Mello have just been so insane. The anti-grenades onto Dorado, the sound barriers, speeding them in. These two supports have been bailing their team out of literally every mistake they've made.
Yeah, thus far they've really not shown any weakness, and that's generally the easiest way to judge a support. Is like, it's very difficult to say, like, aside from giant anti-nades, which Monarch will get every now and then, it's very rare for them to stand out, as opposed to them making big mistakes and then they'll stand out in the wrong kind of way. So Mello and Monarch have done a really great job in that regard.
Yeah, we do have 10 seconds as we're kind of waiting. It looks like, no, never mind. We're going right in. I am so excited. Everyone put your hands together as we reach the match point. No switches on any side of the team as we are straight. This is, Sanctum? What is this?
This one is Shrine.
Shrine. I need to get like a board and put it on my wall for every map. So we can memorize it, but I'm so excited. This is most likely pure Brawl, possibly with an Orisa, if you can run it correctly.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be shocked to see up Navino on the Pharah, or possibly an Echo, since this is a rather aerial map. If I were Exodus, I would very much expect something to be up in the sky and have tilted on that McCree, or Kenny on McCree. They've kind of both played the McCree a little bit, or just have tilted on the Pharah as well. Yeah, I rather like this composition from Exodus. I think they have a slight advantage in terms of composition alone, but of course it's going to depend more on how they play it.
Yeah, I'm worried because Bungie is on this Ashe, but the Mercy is going to really be with Pharah. So why really run the long range sniper?
looking for sight lines, allowing to create a crossfire, but there is the risk of not having as much frontline pressure as much as Kemi will. So it's really going to depend on how he can find the crossfire, how many times he can hit his shots.
Yep, they now go on high ground as both
Speaking of hitting shots,
and Spongy Cheese now gets taken out as Kemi pokes off Navino. They brawl onto the shrine, but Kemi is just getting the majority of these picks and shutting them down.
yeah, that was honestly just beautiful play from Exodus. Textbook example of how you shut down a Pharah, and from Tilted how you play Pharah on this point. And I mean, it really shows in the old percentages, if nothing else. Kemi's 70% to high noon. They're not even 10% to the point yet. Trigger Happy 75 and counting percent to his BAP matrix. That's going to be there for the next fight. That's going to be very difficult to push into if you're Quokka Queens. They have nothing to work with. They need to take a dry fight because they don't have any ultimates in the first place.
Yeah, now as they come back into this fight, they've swapped, not swapped, and they're looking to kind of take this fight. Flint's goes down so low, but they have the amplification matrix, and now they're having to block this LOS and play a lot more carefully. Looks like Pineapple wants to move out. They manage to flash Titanic, but he's able to survive. And Tilted Waffle now goes down in the Pharah 1v1. They're not going to be able to res that as Mello does go down, and that's a bigger pick than the Pharah. They don't have a res or a healing for Navino, so he has to watch where he goes. The Shatter comes out. It gets blocked. Pineapple goes down. They manage to get the res on Tilted Waffle. Now the counter Shatter goes out. The Immortality keep him alive. Trigger Happy, but it looks like Quokka Queens are going to be able to bring this back as only the Mercy is fighting Navino in the air, and the Pharah comes to help.
What are you doing? Oh, what?
Yeah, wait, I'm guessing they're wanting to stall, but it doesn't even matter. They might call winnable because they have the kind of team advantage, but the Orca being... He wants to shut down this fight. Look, Exodus almost have enough people to kind of stall this fight out, and they were already coming back into 6. If he had not done that, then Exodus debatably could have gone back with Kemi's high noon and won that point.
I think that just goes to show how much Exodus is getting to Quokka Queens. They're taking them a little bit too seriously even, because they wasted Gravitic Flux of all things just to take out 2 tanks when the rest of the team weren't there, instead of just trying to focus fire. I would expect the barrage to come out from Navino as long as Tilted doesn't scout it out, which I hope he scouted it out by this point. Wait.
Oh, look, they're barraging Tilted Waffle and the Mercy. They really are showing the Pharah difference. That is much better than ever 4K'ing the team, because now that Pharah is going to be so angry.
Yeah, well, now you have no barrage as well as no matrix. That was a good disengage from the rest of Exodus there to get out of the BAP matrix. Sightlines, of course, they have both DPS ultimates, the barrage and the high noon, as well as both support ultimates coming online or already online. So Exodus is going to have a lot more to work with here. Spongy probably is going to have to look for an early opportunity to use his Bob.
Yeah, look at that. They're using the Valk. They want to get some space to high noon. Now looking, it manages to get Navino. That's the one person you don't want to die. As Titanic gets stunned and is now going low. Spongy managing to get Kemi. He throws out the Bob onto the point. Flash goes into the backline. Manages to get Monarch as Bob is just trying to do anything. But now it's on 80%. This is one fight territory. And it looks like they Quokka Queens are only going to be coming up on a Gravitic Flux.
Yeah, actually, I was interested to see that the point is so far along for Quokka. I didn't feel like that long. Interesting, but yeah, Navino just terribly staggering himself there. If I were him, I'd probably swap off the Pharah at this point. It's too risky, and you're getting into one fight territory by the time you get back. Like, by the time you get with your team, by the time you're set up, you're going to have one fight left, and this inherently favors the defense in this point, in this case, which is Exodus. You know, they have the Shatter, they have the BAP Matrix, whereas Quokka Queens need to build up to some of their ultimates, and they need to deal with Tilted Waffle, who's just off onto the side, causing a lot of ruckus. They're not even touching point.
90% amplification matrix already out. They rotate all the way on the side. Tilted Waffle looking to shatter. Gets fat fingered or something. Tilted Waffle gets spongy, but Navino gets triggered happy. Kemi manages to get Navino, but Rockcraft hitting the 2K. Dismayed, the shatter comes out. Tilted Waffle is trying to save this fight, but it doesn't even matter. This is 89%, and Monarch is coming. Monarch is late in the fight, so it's relying. Pineapple just has to touch the point.
They need to stall to touch. This is not looking good for Exodus. They might be able to get something.
Pineapple just barely manages to touch as he dodges it, and he's looking to shut down.
I don't think anyone else can touch. Wait, no.
They're trying. Kemi's trying to touch, just looking to use that high noon. They're stunning him. The high noon now. backs up, manages to get that's massive, but now he has to go back onto the point to try to stall this out. Monarch managing to
Tilted
get
has another barrage.
Barrage comes out, the Diva Bomb being used in the air. The Res comes out, manages to get charged, but the Res still goes through as Kemi manages to get Monkey Cheese. And now they're back. The stall is working out. They keep Kemi alive, and it's being able to work. Nobody can shut him down. He's at 1 health, and now they kill him. And Quokka Queens. That was so close, but now they managed to win this match point.
That honestly just came down to Exodus choking it out at the final hour. I don't know what Pineapple's doing. I don't know if the stream caught it. I'll be able to see in a few minutes when it catches up. But he came around looking for a flank and shattered without seeing anyone there, and no one was there. He could have used that. That could have been massive if he hit anything.
Forcing a what?
What?
No, he broke it because we went on Lujang.
It's fine.
My God.
We only played 1 round, so that's
Blizzard.
easy.
Why is that in your settings?
That is an easy fix. That is a very easy fix, but that is funny.
Yeah, that is aggressively funny. On the bright side, I mean, we're playing one map. We're going back every time, so they get a fresh reset. There are no. Thank goodness we're not doing stats.
Yeah, well, at this point, stats don't matter. It's the end conclusion, the final score line that really matters. But yeah, honestly, if you're Exodus there, just clean up your play a little bit. It seems like they're getting a little bit frazzled. They're getting a little bit overly ambitious. They're just a few cleaned up mistakes away from honestly taking that with some gusto. So I think things are looking up for Exodus. They just need to be very careful, especially about Village. Again, that's going to be in favor of Quokka Queens naturally because of how they've been playing and what they've been playing all series long. But Exodus can absolutely do it. I think that round shows that they're not out of this yet.
10 billion%, the fattest billion I can give you. But I want to give props to I think if let's say we go to the house or village, as you like to call it, I think Tilted Waffle and Kemi really shine on those points. Those give them the opportunity to play the McCree, the May, or the Symmetra, and they've done really well when they know where the enemy's coming from and they can watch these sight lines or play around it. While Quokka Queens are kind of, I don't know, I feel like they're not always handling Kemi or Tilted, or maybe they're just getting so much peel that it's just impossible.
Kemi and Tilted aren't necessarily getting so much peel. They're just playing really well because Tilted is getting the pocket. Now we are in the Sanctum, which is probably good for Exodus. This is the map that I think they're going to have an easier time winning, if anything, as opposed to Village, which I think is going to be a little bit more favored for Quokka Queens. So they have the potential to even up this map.
Yeah.
Of course, they still need to win this round.
Yep. Remember, everyone in chat, the score line may say 0-0, but right now it's 1-0 in favor of Quokka Queens. Oh, we're seeing a pause already, Rocks Crab. This man has had more pauses than I think I've seen in the Overwatch League, which often go for an hour or more most.
Yeah, well, what can you do?
Oh, man. So now at least we get to see their compositions. Let's say they're not switching or anything. Exodus is running Rhyme Diva, which looks like they're looking to kind of play faster and eat the damage, but I don't know if they're really as aggressive as the Reaper Kree, because that May is going to be able to block them off, but they mess that up, they lose the fight.
I think the tricky part here is I'm not so sure about Navino on the Reaper. I would like to see him on something like a Tracer or an Echo if you still want to keep up in the sky, something like that, because the Reaper isn't necessarily going to get a lot of value because he can be shut down so much by Trigger Happy, by Kemi, by Tilted, and by Vespi, hell, by Pineapple in some cases, or because this is a boop map, I guess Flint was. So basically everyone on Exodus has a way to deal with the Reaper, as opposed to if he was something else. You know, he's going to need to play very close, and Exodus can just kite that.
I feel like the center point kind of debates into how much focus are they giving into? Exodus has such good target focusing that I feel like they're going to be able to shut down that Reaper really fast. So it's up to Navino to play his cards right. And I think the way he wants to play is in their backline. He wants to confuse them and cause them to panic because a Reaper can probably one-shot them.
Possibly, yeah, and especially with the recent buffs, he has a little bit more range to him, so he can get far into the backline. The danger with that, of course, being that he needs to use resources to get back there, and he's not going to have a ton of resources to get back out. The best he's going to have is his Wraith, which they can wall off, and he's pretty much dead. So it's going to be very dependent on... I think the Reaper here is going to be the most consequential hero in this round.
Yeah, look at that, the fire strike hitting everyone on Quokka, but the sun comes on, the main wall now blocking them off. But Mello gets the 2K! Does this man know no bounds in Titanic? May have just stole his play of the game.
Possibly, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, Navino did have some rather large barrages in the previous round, and yeah, I mean, we're going to see Titanic having his Shatter relatively soon, Monarch having the Bat Matrix soon enough, but otherwise it's going to be a relatively dry fight right here.
Yeah, look at that, the Brawl coming in, they're having to play this small entry, booping in. No, he gets out of there. I don't know what happened, but he manages to get out. The Immortality keeping them alive, and now they're bowling in. Navino in their backline, causing that panic Shatter, managing to kill Pineapple on the spot as... Titanic is just inting in, doing what Rockcraft couldn't, go in the backline and live.
I think Quokka Queens are starting to feel it a little bit too much. They can taste that victory, but they do need... They're not actively throwing the round ain't over yet, not by a long shot, and now Exodus has a lot more ultimates to work with.
Yeah, look at that Amplification Matrix being used. It got placed behind them, but Exodus decides to run inside them. It hits only a couple. Mello manages to kind of move around, and Exodus managed to win this. The Death Blossom comes out. That's not good. They were safe, because the point is at 56%. I saw what Navino was trying to do. He tried to, ego it, but unfortunately doesn't work out.
No. Like I said, Quokka Queens are feeling it a little bit too much. They wasted 3 ultimates there for no good reason. I mean, Monarch had an extremely aggressive Bat Matrix. Completely negated. Rockcrafts had no follow-up on his grab. It was a good grab, though. I will give him that. And then the Death Blossom was just a waste entirely. I don't know what else to call it. So
I don't like Quokka Queen walking into this room, and now every single one of them gets stuck. The Sound Barrier saves them, but Tilted Waffle uses the High Noon and the Diva Bomb. A bit excessive, but I'm guessing they're wanting to say, guess what? We're still in this fight.
Yeah, and now they still have the Shatter to work with as well, so they should be fine for this upcoming fight, although Quokka Queens does have a distinct advantage because they are coming up on those ultimates that they wasted the previous round, plus the High Noon that Spongy has yet to be able to use.
Yeah, I feel when going into this next push, it's all up to how they respond to this Shatter. Quokka Queens are now going into this fight, the High Noon being used, but Tilted falls off the map! He fell! It gets Ian, the Shatter comes out, only hitting the Diva, Immortality keeping them alive. Pineapple almost charges off the map, but Flint manages to get Spongy Cheese, and now Vespi falls off. It seems Exodus are not looking great today. Mello managing to boop them off.
Exodus 4 or 5 people into the pit in a singular fight.
I've never seen that many people willingly kind of die like that, as we see both of these teams have the amplification matrix, and Rockstrap is coming up on that Graviton Surge, which is going to be so massive, but they're not 6 compared to Exodus.
Yeah, and Flint, less crucially, is coming up onto that beach. She is going to have that for this upcoming fight, probably mid fight even, so that's going to be a lot of sustainability for Exodus.
Yeah, look at that, but they push past it. The Immortality out. It's such a messy fight. They manage to get trigger happy as they continue brawling into this, but Rockstrap goes down before the grab can come out. Mello, and they backcap as Tilted Waffle is just looking to do it. Mello goes a bit too far out, and they missed a shot. Tilted Waffle so low. Navino getting these picks. Sure, this is at 91%. Sure, they backcapped this, and this is going to give them a time to possibly touch, but there's a Shattered Amplification Matrix. They won that fight with 0 ultimates. This is so scary. They need to touch Amplification Matrix out. They're trying. Pineapple's gone.
They can't touch.
Left. They can't. Quokka Queens are now your Season 2 Flux Cup champions. Quokka Queens win the game.
What a tragic way to go out for Exodus, but really well played. Just good composure from Quokka Queens there on that final map.
Exodus. It almost feels like they self-sabotage when they had such high momentum and adrenaline. They take that 20-minute pause, and that ends it. Oh my goodness. What an amazing series. Sure, my prediction is ruined, but I'm okay with that. So when it comes to it, are we doing interview?
I don't know.
I would say we give it
I think we're asking the team right now.
Yeah, I would personally say we give it to either Titanic or Navino, mostly because those players are like kind of high up there. Look, see, even Shun saying it. I feel like those players have really been kind of the center point and doing a lot into the team. Nev obviously managing it and all that. So I feel both of them are like really deserving, but so are like all the players. Roxcraft continuing to do well with a broken mouse, asking for a pause. Mello and Monarch just absolutely insane in the same sentence.
Yeah, it looks like they're requesting that they all come in here for an interview. I have seen that in the past. It's a little bit chaotic, but we'll see if we can.
I would prefer we don't. I'd rather, ask the question, get the answer, and then we leave.
Well, we're definitely not getting them and Exodus, which is what they're currently requesting.
No, but honestly, Exodus should feel proud of themselves. They did so
we're getting
well.
At least multiple people.
All right. Well, no, we are bringing them all in.
Yes, sir.
Oh my goodness! Welcome everyone from Quokka Queens as they still slowly get brought in. It's so great to see you. Oh, it's the entire team. Oh no, we're here now.
Get Tyler in Florida.
Yeah, get Tyler in Florida. Dude!
All right. Before we start off anything, we need to ask, how does Quokka Queen feel?
Fucking good.
Bro, the Navino curse is broken.
It's
broken.
Definitely lost the first map with me on the team.
Yeah, that's true. That's the first map we've ever lost since you've been on the roster.
Yeah.
Oh my.
No, I never lost the map we played in.
Yeah.
On the roster.
Oh yeah, because the one map we lost, we weren't in. I believe. Oh my god.
I'll take the blame for that one.
Nah, bro, we all played awful on Kings. We threw Kings Row, dude.
Yeah,
we had almost 4 minutes.
Okay,
we had almost 4 minutes, and
but on attack, I was okay. I had like 3 okay tires, and then on like the second on our defense, I don't know where I went, but I just zoned out. Like I was playing fucking Rainbow Six or something else.
So what I'll say is what happened in Kings Row Intel. I think personally, like at least for me, we just got a little cocky, especially when we capped at like 3.5 minutes. And
yeah,
I like that. Dude, I mean, like I tried to ego the shit out of him. Especially after I pulled off that flank noon on Dorado, I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna kill everything. And it didn't work out. Though I do admire how they stopped the AC 130.
Yeah, all of them played incredibly well tonight. Well,
I don't think you can deny that after they rolled you that hard on Kings Row.
The second time we weren't actually going for the AC 130. We were actually just planning on setting up kind of near choke.
Yeah, what was the idea with that? The ground bastion?
Well, no, we were going to try and bait it and get a wall, but Shun messed up the wall. And
I got like booped or something and the wall got messed up.
Yeah. And so yeah.
Honestly, one of the big questions I have to have is, obviously you guys had agreed to the 20-minute pause in between the map. Do you think that sabotaged Exodus because they had just won Kings Row and like that momentum was there?
I mean, I don't really know. Like
I don't think it's relevant. We would have won either way. I mean,
it sounds like a not us problem.
I think
at the same time, like the Kings Row was good for us because like it gave Thai a chance. Like that was Thai's warm up. Like honestly,
yeah.
And I was no matter how much shit I give them, I will say I thank you for pushing it back to 9, so at least Thai could take part in this win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing. Like we were confident with Churd, but it was more so the fact that I wanted. Like I just really like Thai's been like he's the tank all-star, right? Like
he's the boy.
He's the boy. Like I wanted him to be part of this win, and it just sucked that he wasn't ever all of it. But shout out to my boy Churd for stepping in.
Shout out to Churd and Rock. on short notice. They came through and won 2 maps on some shit that we never practiced until 2 days ago.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I guess speaking of that 20-minute break between Kings Row and Hanamura, what did you guys do to sort of mentally reset?
I went and laid down, dude.
Now
An hour nap.
I took a piss and then kind of watched the stream because I watched some of the moments on stream because I wanted to just see what we were doing wrong. They tried to play fast a ton, but like they just weren't like me and Spongy just picked them apart a lot, especially on Hanamura. They got a lot better at Brawl because I remember the first time we played them, we just OTP Brawl and rolled them. They're a lot better on Brawl now, but it was almost like a role reversal. I felt like because they OTP Brawl pretty much, and we played like some Brawl, but we played a lot of poke Brawl, you know. But we kind of just like listened to music, chilled out. Like I left the game for a little bit, and so
I think a couple of us had some food too.
I
I know. I had a slice of cake for my sister's birthday party.
I got gushers.
I had a
So-
salad.
when it really comes kind of to the end, what is Quokka Queens' future gonna look like when it comes to Flux Cup Season 3? Do you guys plan to come back, continue that champion title,
God.
or
bro, that's so far away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I don't know, like I'm taking a break from managing overall, and so I probably won't. Like I won't manage in League 0 this season. But I am planning to have someone take the Quokka brand to League 0. So I think that's the next plan for the brand is Quokka Queens goes to League 0.
well, Akron,
Alright.
do you have any questions left?
No, I think we can let these guys go and enjoy the rest of their night for
And also
however
get-
however much
It
longer.
doesn't
is
feel real,
tonight.
dude.
Speaking of,
I have to pay for the pizza party now.
Wait,
Yay.
yeah,
It's a pizza party.
Before we go, can I ask Quokka Queens to do me one favor though? Can everyone unmute and just at the same time say, "God, I love the billing"?
Everyone just leave.
Oh yes.
Everyone
Oh,
just
yes.
leave.
Wait, I'm ready for it. 1, 2, 3. God, I love the
Billings
Billings
Boomers.
Boomers.
God, I love the Billings Boomers.
Woo, I
love
goes to
Billings
kill
Boomers.
champions, bro. Woo! All right.
Thank you to everyone that helped QQ through the times and
So also one thing to say.
disconnected.
Hashtag Ian Diff. Ian Diff.
Tyler Diff. Tyler Diff.
yeah.
Oh my God,
What
Rock.
is that?
Rock
So
squad.
BM.
Yeah,
So
all right,
BM.
get out.
All right. Thank you guys.
Yo, shout out to Wooly, Abraxas, and Intel for everything you guys have done this season.
Wow,
Love you
yeah.
guys. Have a good night.
Absolutely amazing. Akron, I'd have to say that was one of the most enjoyable games I've ever watched. Both teams did absolutely amazing. Quokka Queens taking this out as people predicted. Do you have any lasting comments?
Honestly, I think despite, not taking it all the way and winning, Exodus has nothing to be ashamed of. They played incredibly well and are very obviously the second best team this season.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I'm Exodus, you either take the branding, bring it into another league, prove that you can win another. Because I see potential with their coaching staff and what they have, honestly, or come back next season. But either way, without anything more to say, my name is Intel. This is Akron. We thank you so much for joining us.